Chapter 1622. Chapter 1622. Chapter 1622 to attack. Don't call me senior. My name is Huwentian, said the Foxman Valley's old ancestor, Huwentian. Senior Fox, when the two nine-tailed demon foxes return, I will definitely reveal the entire plan. Huwentian had asked Ningyu to call him by his name. However, Ningyu would not foolishly comply. At the very least, he would have to address Huwentian as senior who before he joined the Supreme Hall. Up to you. Huwentian shrugged his shoulders, then closed his eyes and began to meditate. Huwentian did not speak, and Ningyu did not speak either. For a moment, the entire area fell silent. Whoosh, whoosh. However, this silence did not last for long before it was broken by two sounds of something tearing through the air. The green fox and white fox rushed over from afar and appeared in front of Ningyu and the others in the blink of an eye. Here, after they appeared, Qinghu tossed a storage pouch to Ningyu and said, "There are 10 sets of medicinal ingredients in there." "Thank you." After catching the storage bag, Ningyu expressed his gratitude and threw the storage bag to Grandmaster Xingyan. Furthermore, Ningyu turned to Huwentian and said, "Senior Hu, I have a presumptuous request." "What is it?" Huwentian asked. "I need 10 Starsky flower petals." Ningyu didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. "No problem." Without a second thought, Huwentian plucked 10 petals from the Starsky flower and handed them to Ningyu. Huwentian needed the golden key within the Starheaven flower, not the Starheaven flower itself. It could be said that if Ningyu wanted the entire Starsky flower, Huwentian would have given it to him. "Also, I need a quiet room," Ningyu continued. "I will satisfy all of your conditions." Huwentian waved his hand and said, "Now, please tell me your overall plan." "Actually, my plan is very simple." Ningyu knew that he had to inform Huwentian of the plan. If he delayed it any longer, Huwentian would definitely get angry. After sorting out his thoughts, Ningyu said in a clear voice, "Grandmaster Xingyan is a peak 9th grade alchemist. His attainments in alchemy are very high. I asked you to prepare the medicinal ingredients and the starry sky petals so that Grandmaster Xingyan can help me concoct pills. I really want to know, what's the relationship between you getting star, Grandmaster Xingyan to refine pellets, and dealing with 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns? Do you think that you can make those 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns retreat with just a few elixirs?" Huwentian asked in puzzlement. It's impossible to deal with 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns with just a few elixirs, but as he spoke, Ningyu briefly paused before he continued. "With pellets and 2 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns, or even quasi-saints, we should be able to deal with 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns." "You have quasi-saint companions?" Huwentian's heart skipped a beat as he exclaimed. The quasi-saint realm was something that Huwentian could only dream of. Without any fortuitous encounters, Huwentian might never be able to reach the quasi-saint realm in his lifetime. If he could obtain the experience of a quasi-saint expert, he would have a higher chance of success when he tried to break through to the quasi-saint realm in the future. Ningyu smiled. He didn't answer Huwentian's question. Instead, he said, "Senior Hu, please prepare a quiet room for Grandmaster Xingyan to refine the pellets first." Although he wanted to know if Ningyu had any quasi-saint companions, Huwentian knew that Ningyu would tell him if he wanted to. Otherwise, there was no point in asking. "Azure Fox and White Fox, bring Grandmaster Xingyan to the secret room. Remember, don't let anyone disturb Grandmaster Xingyan," Huwentian said in a clear voice. Russell. Following that, Azure Fox and White Fox led the way, while Grandmaster Xingyan followed behind with 10 petals of the starry heavenly flower and 10 sets of medicinal ingredients. "Senior Hu, I would like to learn more about the internal structure of the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. I hope you can enlighten me." After Grandmaster Xingyan and the others disappeared, Ningyu felt that he should learn more about the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. After all, only by knowing oneself and the enemy could one win 100 battles. There are a total of 3 caves in the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. Each cave is so deep that you can't see the bottom. Huwentian sorted out his thoughts and then began to speak tirelessly. While Hu Wentian was speaking, Ningyu didn't disturb him. Instead, he tried his best to listen to him. When he heard the key points, even memorized them. It doesn't look good. Hu Wentian spoke for a full 10 minutes before he told Ningyu everything he knew. After listening to everything, Ningyu's face turned grave. From Hu Wentian's words, he knew that there were a total of 3 tunnels in the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. The Heavenly Supreme expert from the Emperor Palace would only enter one of the tunnels and ignore the other 2. Ningyu could basically conclude that the Demon Spirit Realm expert was most likely in the tunnel that the Heavenly Supreme expert from the Emperor Palace went to. Forget it. Let's wait for Grandmaster Xingyun to refine the elixirs first. Ningyu took a deep breath and decided to wait. This time, he had obtained 10 sets of medicinal ingredients from the Foxman Valley. This meant that Grandmaster Xingyun could refine 10 batches of elixirs. Every cauldron would refine 2 pills, and each elixir would allow Xiezhe and Guoliang to work without restraint for 10 minutes. 10 batches, 20 elixirs. That would allow Xiezhe and Guoliang to work for 200 minutes. With 200 minutes to act without restraint, this trip to the Saint Grade Primordial Crystal Vein would also have a very good guarantee. Most importantly, Ningyu had a hidden trump card. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Ningyu wouldn't reveal his trump card. If he consumed 10 elixirs together with Grandmaster Xingyun's and his help, Guoliang would be able to suppress the poison in his body for a short period of time and display the strength of a half-saint. Of course, even if he consumed 10 elixirs, Guoliang would only be able to maintain the strength of a half-saint for a minute. After all, the poison in Guoliang's body was terrifying. It would be difficult to suppress it with elixirs alone. It was already very good that Guoliang could maintain the strength of a half-saint for a minute with the help of Ningyu and Grandmaster Xingyun. Even Guoliang didn't know about this trump card. Since Grandmaster Xingyun would need at least 6 to 7 hours to refine 10 batches of elixirs, Ningyu chose to consolidate his cultivation during this time. Using the energy from the Earth Surge acupoint, Ningyu successfully advanced to the 1st Grade Earth Supreme Realm. Although he couldn't advance to the 2nd Grade Earth Supreme Realm in a short period of time, cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. Ningyu didn't want to waste 6 to 7 hours. Rumble. However, as soon as Ningyu sat down, his expression changed and he immediately stood up. A loud noise came from the entrance of the Foxman Valley. Shit, it's the Heavenly Supreme expert from the Saint Grade Yuan Crystal Vein. Chapter 1623. Chapter 1623. Chapter 1623 Stratagem. Upon hearing Hu Wentian's words, Ningyu's expression became extremely grave as he cried out in a deep voice. From Hu Wentian's words, Ningyu could determine that the Heavenly Sovereign in the Saint Grade Origin Crystal Vein wasn't an ordinary initial phase Heavenly Sovereign. At the very least, he was at the middle phase Heavenly Sovereign realm. It was so much so that he might even be a late-stage Heavenly Sovereign. Although Xiezhe could exert the strength of a pinnacle Heavenly Supreme for a short time by devouring elixirs, it was impossible for Xiezhe to do so. However, Ningyu did not want Xiezhe to use up the last pill. After all, rashly swallowing a medicinal pill without a clear understanding of the enemy's strength was an unwise move. You guys can leave first. I'll go out with Senior Fox. Ningyu immediately made his decision. He told the Golden Arowana Fish King and the others to retreat while he and Hu Wentian went out to meet that Sky Supreme. I'll go with you. Xiezhe was worried about Ningyu's safety, so he volunteered to follow Ningyu. All right. Ningyu only thought for a second before agreeing to Xiezhe's request. Ningyu knew this better than anyone else. Xiezhe volunteered not because he was worried about his safety, but because he was afraid that no one would treat the goo poison in his body after he died. Ningyu saw through it, but didn't point it out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Next, Ningyu, Xiezhe, and Hu Wentian rushed towards the entrance of Foxman Valley. Senior Fox, with the Sky Split Eclipse Array, that Heavenly Sovereign from the Saint Grade Origin Crystal Vein shouldn't be able to break in, right? As they moved forward, Ningyu did not forget to ask, Sai, Every second that the shrouding the sun great array is activated consumes a large amount of energy. Hearing that, Hu Wentian sighed and said, "In recent years, the Foxman Valley has consumed a lot of energy. With its current energy, it can only last for 3 minutes. All right, let's go take a look at the entrance first." Ningyu also felt a little helpless. He didn't have much energy on him, and the amount of energy consumed by the sky-obscuring sun formation wasn't something he could afford. The only thing he could do now was to first figure out the enemy's actual situation and then think of another way. "Hu Wentian, get your ass out here right now." Before Ningyu and the others even reached the entrance of Foxman Valley, they heard the Sky's supreme powerhouse cursing inside the Saint-grade primal crystal mine. His voice is powerful, and his aura is deep in his dantian. His cultivation should be at the late Sky Supreme realm. Based on the berserk curses, Ningyu determined that the cultivator at the entrance of Foxman Valley was at least a late-stage Sky Supreme. Ordinary mid-stage Sky Supremes couldn't make such a sound. Swish, swish, swish. As Ningyu and the others were not too far from the exit of Foxman Valley, Ningyu and the others appeared at the exit of Foxman Valley after 10 seconds. The situation is a little troublesome. Looking at the gray-robed old man outside Foxman Valley, Ningyu's heart thumped. He knew that the situation was bad. The gray-robed elder's cultivation was indeed at the late Sky Supreme level. However, Ningyu wasn't worried about the gray-robed elder, but the experts hidden in the void around him. 3 cultivators, 2 late-stage Sky Supremes, and 1 peak Sky Supreme. Ningyu did his best to calm himself down and not reveal any flaws. Before coming here, Ningyu had thought that if it came down to it, he could have Xieze devour the elixir and kill the other party on the spot. But now, Ningyu had completely changed his strategy. Even if Xieze devoured the elixir, he definitely wouldn't be able to fight against the gray-robed elder and the others. 1 peak Sky Supreme and 3 late Sky Supreme. With such a lineup, Hu Wentian could only unleash his peak combat power. Otherwise, acting rashly would only result in death. "Who are they?" The gray-robed elder's gaze turned sharp when he saw Hu Wentian. "If you can't give me a reasonable explanation today, I'll skin you alive." They're the Foxman Valley's esteemed guests. Although he was disgusted by the gray-robed elder's words, Hu Wentian could only swallow his anger and hurriedly explained, "A few hundred years ago, the first ancestor who founded the Foxman Valley. In order to fool the gray-robed elder, Hu Wentian began to fabricate a story, saying that Ningyu was the benefactor of the first ancestor of the Foxman Valley." Hu Wentian's expression didn't change when he started to panic, which made Ningyu admire him. All right. Don't talk to me about these useless things." When Hu Wentian talked about Ningyu's origins, it was like a torrential river that flowed endlessly. The gray-clothed elder immediately waved his hand and interrupted Hu Wentian's words. "Quickly pack up and bring all the 9-tailed foxes of the Foxman Valley with me to the Origin Crystal Vein." Hu Wentian was briefly stunned before he replied, "Didn't we agree beforehand that you're only going to control me? You won't implicate the other 9-tailed foxes in the Foxman Valley." "That was then, and this is now. If you can do as I say, I'll give you the antidote after we're done with this mission," the gray-robed elder said in annoyance. "All right, I promise you." Hu Wentian briefly pondered before he continued, "I'll gather all the 9-tailed foxes of the heavenly sovereign realm and above." As he spoke, Hu Wentian turned around and walked into the Foxman Valley. As for Ningyu and Xieze, they stood on the spot and did not leave with Hu Wentian. In fact, the reason why Hu Wentian agreed to the gray-robed elder so quickly was because of Ningyu. Ningyu had already told Hu Wentian about the stakes, and Hu Wentian could only agree out of concern for the safety of the other 9-tailed foxes in the Foxman Valley. After Hu Wentian left, the gray-robed elder waved his hand at Ningyu and said, "The 2 of you, come over here." Ningyu had fear on his face as he hesitated and did not approach the gray-robed elder. "Coward!" The gray-robed elder had a look of disgust on his face, but he quickly concealed it. After sorting out his thoughts, the gray-robed elder said, "I have a few questions. As long as you can answer them truthfully, I will definitely let you go." Are you serious? Ningyu immediately asked with joy on his face. Yes. The gray-robed elder nodded his head and continued. The first question is, why did the Foxman Valley activate the sky, shrouding array? Did someone launch an attack on the Foxman Valley? I'm not too sure if someone launched an attack on the Foxman Valley, but I do know that the four major forces of the Foxman Valley are fighting for power. In order to settle the internal conflict, Hu Wentian had no choice but to activate the sky, shrouding array. As he spoke, Ningyu sighed and muttered, "What a pity. I initially wanted to borrow some Saint-grade origin crystals from the Foxman Valley, but it looks like I can only return empty-handed." The gray-robed elder clearly heard Ningyu's muttering. Chapter 1624. Chapter 1624. Chapter 1624. Take away. Ningyu's eyes flickered as he said hesitantly, "Actually, it's nothing much. I just wanted to come and take a look. Hu Wentian isn't here. I advise you to speak the truth." The gray-robed old man chuckled. "It's better for everyone. Can you guarantee that you won't kill me?" Ningyu pinched the corner of his clothes as he stared at the gray-robed old man and asked nervously, "Don't worry, I can swear a heavenly oath that I won't kill you." The gray-robed old man nodded and swore the heavenly Tao oath in front of Ningyu and Xieze. Ningyu revealed a relieved expression when he saw the gray-clothed old man swear the heavenly Tao oath. Ningyu slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His entire person seemed to have relaxed. "I came to Foxman Valley to borrow some Saint-grade origin crystals from Hu Wentian," Ningyu said, "Still not going to tell me the truth?" The corners of the gray-clothed old man's mouth curled upwards. Even his tone turned cold as he spoke. "You mumbled earlier that you came to Foxman Valley to borrow Saint-grade origin crystals, but I know very well that your goal is not that. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't behave, don't blame me for being impolite." Ningyu's expression became extremely terrified, as if he had seen a ghost. "You want to lie to me? How could it be so simple?" Ningyu's expression gave the gray-robed old man the feeling that he had a card up his sleeve. However, what the gray-clothed elder didn't know was the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. In Ningyu's opinion, he had to take a risk if he wanted to gain the old man's trust. The result made Ningyu very satisfied. As expected, the gray-robed old man fell for it. Since the gray-robed elder had fallen for it, then everything would be easy. His legs faintly trembling, Ningyu turned his head to look at the depths of Foxman Valley. Seeing that Hu Wentian had yet to return, he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm heading to Foxman Valley this time because Master has asked me to buy a star heaven flower from Hu Wentian. What's your master's cultivation?" The gray-robed old man's primary goal was not the Starsky flower, but the cultivation of Ningyu's imaginary master. "A half-saint." Ningyu's face was full of arrogance as he said in a deep voice, "Half-saint." The gray-robed old man's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes were filled with shock. A half-saint was an existence that surpassed the heavenly supreme realm. In the Pill Formation continent, and even in the heavenly devil realm, experts at the half-saint realm stood at the top of the pyramid. In the absence of sages, semi-sages would reign supreme. Therefore, when Ningyu said that his master was a semi-sage expert, the gray-clothed old man felt a great deal of pressure. "There's no need to worry. We just happen to be able to draw that half-saint to the depths of the saint-grade origin crystal vein." Sensing the old man's nervousness, the pinnacle heavenly sovereign said, "When the time comes, we'll activate the array and use 5 pinnacle powerhouses as bait. Then, we'll be able to succeed." "All right." The gray-robed old man immediately came to a realization when he heard that. The array in the depths of the Saint-grade origin crystal vein could even trap a demonic spirit realm sage, let alone a mere half-saint. Thinking of this, the gray-robed old man stared at Ningyu and asked again, "Where is your master?" Ningyu pondered for a moment and replied, "I'm not too sure about that, but my master said that as long as I buy the Starsky flower, he'll come looking for me." The gray-robed old man continued, "What exactly is the Starsky flower? Why does your master value it so much?" "I asked my master back then, But he scolded me and told me not to ask what I shouldn't ask, Ningyu said with a helpless expression. Then did you buy the Starsky flower? The gray-robed old man continued to ask, not giving Ningyu any chance to catch his breath. No, Hu Wentian wouldn't sell it no matter what. Even if I brought up my master, he wouldn't agree. At the mention of the Starsky flower, Ningyu immediately became disappointed and sighed. Don't sigh. As long as you follow me, I guarantee that I'll get the Starsky flower for you. The gray-robed old man waved his hand and said, Are you serious? Ningyu looked at the gray-robed old man suspiciously. His expression was one of disbelief. I won't lie. The gray-robed old man laughed. Senior, as long as you can help me get the Starsky flower, Ningyu hurriedly said, even stuttering when he spoke. You and I hit it off. How about this? You come with me later. I'll think of a way to help you get the Starsky flower. The gray-robed old man said, Also, don't call me senior. Call me by my real name, Di Shirden. I'm called Xielin. The one beside me is called Xieze. Since Di Shirtian introduced himself, Ningyu naturally followed suit. He couldn't use the name Ningyu anymore. After all, Ningyu had a feud with the Emperor Palace and was currently being hunted by them. It was impossible to guarantee that Di Shirtian and the others would recognize him. As for Xieze, Ningyu had just communicated with him and learned that the name Xieze was also a pseudonym. Only a few people in the Dan Chang continent knew about him. Therefore, there was no problem using Xieze. Whoosh! At that moment, Hu Wentian brought the Sky Supremes of the Foxman Valley and flew over from the depths of the valley. Ningyu hurriedly turned around and looked. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he did, he was shocked. There were a total of 10 Sky Supremes in the Foxman Valley. Moreover, this didn't include Azure Fox and White Fox. After all, Azure Fox and White Fox were protecting Grandmaster Xingyan. Hu Wentian wouldn't be stupid enough to call them over. Very good. Di Shirtian stared at the 12 heavenly sovereigns behind Hu Wentian with a blazing gaze. Di Shirtian wasn't the only one who was excited. The other 3 cultivators in the sky were also very excited. With one more Sky Supremes, the success rate of their plan would increase by a notch. Therefore, when Hu Wentian brought 12 Sky Supremes with him, they were extremely excited. Of course, Di Shirtian's excited expression disappeared in a flash. He quickly returned to normal. Follow me. Di Shirtian didn't waste any time here. He waved his hand and rushed into the depths of the Moling mountain range. Let's go too. Seeing Di Shirtian leave, Hu Wentian didn't stay a second longer. He stomped on the ground and followed closely behind Di Shirtian with the 12 heavenly sovereigns. Since everyone had left, there was naturally no need for Ningyu and Xieze to stay. After all, there was still a peak Sky Supremes and 2 late-stage Sky Supremes in the sky. Di Shirtian was in front while the 3 cultivators in the sky followed behind. It looked like they were protecting Ningyu, Hu Wentian, and the others, but that wasn't the case. They were completely monitoring them. Ningyu initially wanted to communicate with Hu Wentian, but when he saw the 3 heavenly sovereigns following behind him, he immediately dispelled that thought. Ningyu believed that Hu Wentian would arrange everything properly. After all, this trip to the St. Grade Yuan crystal mine was fraught with grim possibilities. Furthermore, Hu Wentian brought 12 Sky Supremes with him. Therefore, it was reasonable for Hu Wentian to explain the reason to Guoliang and the others. Chapter 1625. Di Shirtian. Swish, swish. In the depths of the Moling mountain range, within a dense forest, several figures flashed by, and the branches of the towering trees swayed in the wind. Without a doubt, these cultivators were none other than Ningyu and the rest who had just left the Foxman Valley. After leaving the Foxman Valley, Ningyu and the rest did not stop at all. Instead, they headed straight for the St. Grade Yuan crystal mine. As they went deeper, Ningyu's expression grew more and more solemn, because Ningyu discovered that the Yuan Qi in the air was getting thinner and thinner. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the Yuan Qi in the air completely disappeared. Did Di Shirtian discover us? Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something, and his expression turned solemn. Logically speaking, the yuan qi in the air around the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine should be very dense. Why was it that the closer they got to the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine, the thinner the yuan qi in the air became? Stop! Just as Ningyu was pondering, Di Shitian, who was at the front, suddenly stopped. He raised his right hand and said, "There's danger. Everyone hide." As the sound of Di Shitian's voice faded, his body gradually became illusory as he fused with the air. Buzz! When Ningyu and the rest saw Di Shitian fuse with the air, their figures flickered and they too dove into the air. In the blink of an eye, including the 12 sky sovereigns that Hu Wentian brought with him, all of them fused with the air and disappeared. Whoosh! Not long after Ningyu and the rest disappeared, the void in the distance suddenly split open, and 3 behemoths emerged from the void. Gulp! Feeling the dense aura from the 3 colossal figures, Ningyu could not help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Peak sky sovereigns. The cultivation of these 3 demonic beasts were all at the peak of the sky sovereign realm. The Moling Mountain Range is indeed the forbidden land of the Pill Formation continent. I can easily see peak sky sovereign demonic beasts here. Ningyu was shocked as he tried to hide his aura for fear of being discovered by the demonic beasts. Although there were pinnacle heavenly sovereigns in their group, they wouldn't have a good ending if they were discovered by the 3 demonic beasts. Hence, not only Ningyu was doing his best to conceal his aura, Di Shitian and the rest were doing the same. Whoosh! Fortunately, the 3 pinnacle sky supreme realm demonic beasts only stopped for a few seconds before flying off in another direction. It wasn't until 5 minutes after the 3 monsters left that Ningyu and the others appeared from the void. "Senior, how far are we from our destination?" Ningyu surveyed the surroundings as he asked Di Shitian. "Almost half an hour," Di Shitian replied. Di Shitian wasn't an indecisive person. After replying to Ningyu's question, he stomped on the ground and transformed into a blur as he sped away. Seeing Di Shitian rushing out, Ningyu, Hu Wentian, and the rest could only follow closely behind. The interlude of the 3 demonic beasts didn't waste too much of Di Shitian's time. Half an hour later, Ningyu and the rest stopped in a spacious area. Looking at the spacious area, Ningyu was a little shocked. Honestly speaking, Ningyu didn't expect there to be such a spacious area in the depths of the Moling Mountain Range. Could it be that the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein was right under this spacious area? Rumble. At this moment, the ground trembled as a huge crack appeared in Ningyu and Di Shitian's vision. The Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein is right below. Let's go. Upon seeing the opening, Di Shitian grabbed onto Ningyu and swiftly dove into the opening. Soon after, Hu Wentian and the other 12 heavenly sovereigns also entered the crack. Rumble. When the last martialist entered the gap, the ground that had originally split open actually began to slowly close up. The area returned to its previous calm. Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein? Inside the crack, Ningyu's gaze landed on the huge words on the ceiling of the cave. Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. For words were engraved on the ceiling of the cave. It was the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein that Ningyu spoke of. The distance between us and the cave should be the outermost area of the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. Ningyu did his best to calm himself down. Hu Wentian had already explained to him that there were many arrays around the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein. If they were not careful, they would die without a burial ground. Ningyu wasn't stupid enough to activate those arrays. Shifting his gaze, he looked at Di Shitian and asked, "Is that the entrance to the Saint Grade Yuan crystal vein?" "That's right. That's the entrance." Di Shitian nodded his head. "Are you interested in entering with me?" "Of course." An impatient expression appeared on Ningyu's face. However, Ningyu secretly transmitted his voice to Di Shitian. "Don't forget to obtain the Star Heaven flower for me. Only when I obtain it will my master come over." "No problem." Di Shitian smiled. "All of you follow behind me. If anyone dares to be disobedient, don't blame me for being impolite." Sha-sha. Di Shitian's feet moved, resembling a snake as he moved through the vast area. From here to the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein, there was still a long way to go. On this stretch of road, there were all kinds of formations. Ningyu knew this, Hu Wentian knew this, Xieze also knew this. Hence, they followed closely behind Di Shitian. For every step Di Shitian took, they followed. For every half-step Di Shitian took, they followed. The more dangerous it was, the more they couldn't panic. If not, if they accidentally activated the arrays, the consequences would be unimaginable. Luckily, Di Shitian's speed wasn't too slow. Every time Ningyu was about to activate the arrays, he would be able to arrive in time. Just like that, they advanced for a full 10 minutes. With Di Shitian in the lead, Ningyu, Hu Wentian, and the 12 heavenly sovereigns as support, they finally arrived at the entrance of the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein. However, at the entrance, Di Shitian stopped. Stretching out his right hand, he pointed at the entrance and said, Hu Wentian, you and the nine-tailed demon fox you brought will be the vanguard. Walk at the front. Why us? Hu Wentian coldly snorted as he started to argue. There are no buts. If I want you guys to walk at the front, you guys have to walk at the front. Di Shitian didn't bother to give Hu Wentian any explanation. He was the person in charge of the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein. Whoever he wanted to walk at the front, that person had to walk at the front. If not, he would let Hu Wentian and the rest know the consequences. Fine. Although Hu Wentian felt helpless, he could only follow Di Shitian's instructions. You, open the path at the front. Hu Wentian casually pointed at two Sky Supreme Realm nine-tailed demon foxes and had them take the lead. Shua, Shua. The two heavenly sovereigns didn't dare to disobey Hu Wentian's words. They rapidly rushed out, and in the blink of an eye, appeared at the entrance of the cave. Why are you still not going in? Chapter 16:26. Chapter 16:26. Chapter 16:26. Xiao. The two heavenly sovereigns stomped on the ground and entered the cave in front of Ningyu and the rest. Let's go too. Seeing the two nine-tailed demon foxes entering the cave, Di Shitian followed closely behind them. Black. The first feeling Ningyu had after entering the cave was darkness. The second feeling was that it was extremely dark. Voila! Luckily, Di Shitian took out a St. Grade Yuan crystal from his robes, illuminating the incomparably dark cave. After advancing for roughly 10 minutes, the two nine-tailed demon foxes at the front abruptly stopped. The reason why they stopped wasn't because they didn't want to continue, but because there were 3 forks in front of them. After a moment of silence, Di Shitian said, Hu Wentian, bring the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes and take the left path. Xiaolin, you and Xieze take the middle path. As for me, I will take the right path. After hearing Di Shitian's words, a look of hesitation appeared on Hu Wentian's face. Truthfully speaking, the previous 2 times, Di Shitian had ignored the left and middle paths. Why did he want him and Ningyu to take the middle path and the left path? There must be a demon behind this abnormal situation. Hu Wentian didn't want to die here without knowing why. Di Shitian, why did you want me to come here? Hu Wentian coldly asked. What can it be? Same old rules. There's a wall that's extremely hard to break through. So, I wanted you and your tribesmen to help me. Di Shitian shrugged his shoulders and continued. I promise you, as long as you help me this time, I will definitely give you the antidote, completely dispelling the black miasma in your body. Words are useless. I want the antidote now. Hu Wentian had a resolute look on his face, as though he wouldn't enter the left path if Di Shitian didn't give him the antidote. Kaka. Hu Wentian's actions caused Di Shitian's expression to turn completely cold. Not only that, a trace of killing intent could be seen on Di Shitian's face. However, this trace of killing intent was quickly concealed by him. Shua. With a flick of his wrist, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. Di Shitian shook the jade bottle in his hand. The antidote inside can expel half of the black chi in your body. As he spoke, Di Shitian tossed the jade bottle towards Hu Wentian. Kacha! Hu Wentian stretched out his right hand and crushed the jade bottle. Without saying anything further, Hu Wentian swallowed the pill in the jade bottle right in front of Di Shirtian. Not long after the pill entered his mouth, Hu Wentian felt the black gas in his heart begin to rush out. Chi-chi. However, after half of the black gas disappeared, it returned to its original state and did not continue to decrease. But even so, Hu Wentian's fighting strength had reached the middle phase heavenly sovereign realm. But if Hu Wentian wanted to unleash the strength of a pinnacle heavenly sovereign, he would have to expel the black miasma from his body. Can we go in now? Di Shirtian stared at Hu Wentian and said, I, Di Shirtian, am a man of my words. As long as you can break through that wall, I will definitely give you the remaining antidote. Humph. I hope you keep your word. Hu Wentian coldly snorted and entered the leftmost passage. After Hu Wentian disappeared, the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes behind him also dispersed. Xie Lin, you and your companions will enter the middle passage. I will wait for you on the other side. Di Shirtian pointed at the middle passage as he spoke to Ningyu. But the Starsky flower. Ningyu opened his mouth as he hesitated. Since he wanted to act, he had to make it look real. Ningyu believed that as long as Di Shirtian wanted his half-saint master to come over, he would definitely not kill him. Haha, don't worry. When we reach the end of the passage, I will personally hand the Starsky flower to you. Di Shirtian lightly smiled as he continued. Let's go. If we delay any longer, there might be changes. Okay, let's go. Since Di Shirtian had already spoken to this extent, Ningyu nodded his head in agreement. After that, he and Xieze entered the passageway in the middle. Buzz. Not long after Ningyu and Hu Wentian disappeared, the void suddenly split open and 3 figures appeared. 2 late-stage Sky Supremes and 1 Peak Sky Supremes. Should we activate the formation and refine the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes in the left passage? Di Shirtian hurriedly asked when he saw the Peak Sky Supremes appear. Di Shirtian was only the person in charge of the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine on the surface. The one in charge of the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine was the Peak Sky Supremes, Di Feng. Emperor Palace was not as simple as Ningyu and the others thought. It could be said that ever since the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine was discovered in the Moling mountain range, Emperor Palace had been developing at a terrifying speed. Originally, Emperor Palace, Blood God Palace, and Corpse Sect were forces of the same level. But after such a long period of development, the experts in Emperor Palace were like mushrooms after the rain. The current Emperor Palace, in terms of high-end combat power, was no less than the Sacred Heaven Sect of the Ice Domain. But their mid-range combat power was much weaker than the Sacred Heaven Sect. After all, the Sacred Heaven Sect was the absolute overlord in the Ice Domain. If Emperor Palace wanted to surpass the Ice Domain, the mid-range combat power couldn't be too far apart. We don't need to activate the formation for now. Di Feng shook his head and said, there are 3 more forces outside. Let's go to the formation in the deepest part and wait for all of them to enter the formation before we take action. 3 more groups? Hearing that, Di Shirtian was slightly startled as he asked in confusion, which groups are that? Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Di Feng said coldly, let's go. Hurry to the deepest formation and set everything up first. Di Feng stomped on the ground and rushed into the rightmost passage. Di Shirtian and the other 2 late-stage Sky Supremes didn't dare to delay. They quickly followed behind and entered the rightmost passage. Rumble. At the same time, outside the cave, outside the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine, the void trembled. Then, a figure with a hunchback appeared. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that the hunchback was none other than the old lady who had devoured Meng Quan and the others. The 100-armed devil. There's a formation here. The 100-armed devil didn't rush into the cave immediately. Instead, her eyes became extremely sharp. As a demon spirit realm expert, the 100-armed devil wasn't only powerful, she was also well-versed in formations. She moved her feet and moved left and right in the area. The 100-armed devil's movement technique was very strange. Although she was moving at a fast speed, she didn't touch the formation at all. 3 minutes later, The 100-armed devil easily passed through the formation and appeared at the entrance of the cave. You want to trap me with a mere formation? Wishful thinking. Chapter 16:27. Chapter 16:27. Battle. Buzz. Buzz. Not long after the 100-armed ghost demon disappeared, the space cracked again. Whoosh. 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 This time, 3 figures appeared. Taking a closer look, there were 2 old men and a young woman wearing a bamboo hat. Senior should be imprisoned in the cave. One of the white-haired old men pointed at the entrance of the cave and said, "Let's go. We must save Senior before the 100-armed ghost demon." The white-haired old man moved his feet and was about to rush into the cave. Wait! Before the white-haired old man could move a few steps, the other short and plump old man immediately grabbed his arm and said, "This area is so quiet. There must be a trap. Let me try first." As he spoke, the short and plump old man took out an interspatial pouch. Exerting force from his wrist, the short and plump old man threw the interspatial pouch forward. "Open!" As the short and plump old man roared, the interspatial pouch suddenly cracked open and a burly figure landed on the ground. "Go to the cave." The short and plump old man formed seals and instructed the burly man. Boom! 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 The burly man walked towards the entrance of the cave step by step, each step landing heavily on the ground. Clearly, the burly man was a puppet. In terms of cultivation, the burly puppet was only a 9th grade Earth Supreme Realm cultivator. However, the material of the puppet was so tough that ordinary heavenly sovereigns wouldn't be able to shatter it. Using this puppet, we'll know if there's any danger ahead, the short and plump old man said with his hands behind his back. Boom! The puppet had only taken a dozen steps when it seemed to have triggered some kind of array, causing the ground to cave in with it at the center. "Shit, come back!" Seeing that the puppet was about to be devoured by the ground, the short and plump old man immediately bit his middle finger and began to control the puppet. Rumble. Unfortunately, no matter how the short and plump old man performed the technique, he couldn't contact the puppet. After struggling for a while, the puppet man's body fell into the pit. Crack, crack, crack. The moment the puppet's foot disappeared, the pit gradually closed up and returned to its original state. What's going on? The sudden change caused the white-haired old man's expression to turn extremely ugly. It's a formation. The short and stout old man's expression was solemn as he said in a low voice, "There should be many formations between here and the cave. If we accidentally touch the formations, the consequences will be unimaginable. Don't tell me that even with our strength, we can't resist the formation." As matters stood, the white-haired old man calmed down. In terms of formation skills, the short and stout old man was much better than the white-haired old man. Therefore, the white-haired old man was helpless in the face of this distance, and could only ask the short and stout old man. "It's hard to say." The pudgy old man frowned slightly and said, "In my opinion, we should consume a few more puppets and let them open the way for us." Without waiting for the white-haired old man to answer, the short and stout old man took out a few more storage bags and threw them into the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, the storage pouch shattered and 3 burly puppets descended. Let's follow the burly puppets. The 3 of them should be able to ensure that we reach the entrance of the cave. The short and stout old man moved his legs first and moved forward carefully. The path that the short and stout old man was moving forward was not without reason. He was moving along the footsteps of the burly puppets just now. Although the white-haired old man wanted to say something, seeing that the short and stout old man was already moving forward, he had no choice but to move forward slowly. As for the woman in the bamboo hat, she had no choice but to follow closely behind the white-haired old man. Crack! Not long after, one of the 3 burly puppets in front accidentally touched the formation and was crushed to pieces by the formation. Such a change had a great impact on the white-haired old man and the woman in the bamboo hat. Fortunately, the short and stout old man's words stabilized the morale of the troops. Otherwise, there would have been a problem. We still have 2 more burly puppets. We should be able to reach the entrance of the cave. The short and stout old man kept saying, hoping that the white-haired old man and the woman in the bamboo hat would not be nervous. Because they were in the center of the formation, once the white-haired old man and the woman in the bamboo hat became nervous, it was likely that they would trigger another formation. Crack! They moved forward for a few more minutes. The second puppet did not manage to hold on. It also triggered a formation and was crushed to pieces by the formation. Because the previous few puppets had failed one after another, the short and stout old man was especially careful with the last puppet. He even split a portion of his soul force to open a path in front of him. Finally, hard work pays off. After 10 minutes of hard work, the short and stout old man and the others reached the entrance of the cave. Go in. After standing at the entrance for a full 5 minutes, the short and stout old man decided to go in and take a look. However, the short and stout old man was extremely careful. He would stop every few steps to look around, just in case there was any danger. Roar! Not long after the 3 of them entered the cave, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from afar. The roar came from afar and appeared in the area in the blink of an eye. Peak Sky Supreme. And there were 3 of them at once. 3 Pinnacle Sky Supreme Realm demonic beasts appeared in the area. If Ningyu and Dishir Tian were here, they would definitely notice that the 3 Peak Sky Supreme demonic beasts were the ones they had encountered not long ago. Master has finally come out of seclusion after 100 years. One of the pinnacle heavenly sovereigns raised an arc on the corner of his lips as he eerily said, "We don't dare to barge in when Master is in seclusion. But when Master comes out, we'll show our might. Don't be rash. Master's cultivation has just begun and is currently in a stable state. We can't be too reckless." The other Peak Sky Supreme demonic beast said, "Remember our mission. Save our 5 companions and think of a way to obtain the huge Yuan crystal in the deepest part of the St. Grade Yuan crystal mine. Don't worry. We're very clear about this." The last pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beast nodded his head. "But after rescuing our companions and obtaining the Yuan crystals, we can uproot the entire St. Grade Yuan crystal vein. As long as you can complete the mission, you can do whatever you want with the rest of the time. I won't interfere." The second Peak Sky Supreme demonic beast said indifferently. Clearly, the second Peak Sky Supreme demonic beast was the leader of the 3 demonic beasts. The other 2 demonic beasts had no choice but to listen to him. Moreover, his cultivation was higher than the other 2 demonic beasts. He wasn't too far away from the half-saint realm. At the very least, he was at the threshold of the half-saint realm. As long as he had a fortuitous encounter, advancing to the half-saint realm shouldn't be a problem. There's a formation in the area in front of the cave. The 2 of you follow me. We'll enter the cave from another direction. The second Peak Sky Supreme demonic beast's figure flickered as he flew in another direction. Chapter 1628. Chapter 1628. A Crystal Wall. At the same time, in the passageway where Hu Wentian was at, Hu Wentian's face turned ugly when he saw the huge boulder that suddenly appeared in front of him. The passageway was already getting narrower and narrower, and now a huge boulder appeared in the middle of the passageway, completely blocking it. "You guys stay back. I'll think of a way to break the boulder." Taking a deep breath, Hu Wentian waved his hand, signaling the 9-tailed fox beside him to back off. 12 Heavenly Supreme Realm 9-tailed demon foxes were the peak combat power of Foxman Valley. Hu Wentian didn't want them all to die here. Swish! Thus, after the 9-tailed demon foxes retreated, Hu Wentian stomped on the ground, and like a cheetah, he shot forward. Opening his right hand, Hu Wentian slammed his palm onto the boulder. Not good. The moment his palm came into contact with the boulder, Hu Wentian sensed something amiss and hurriedly retreated. However, Hu Wentian's speed was clearly slower by half a beat. The terrifying rebound force rebounded back onto Hu Wentian's palm. Poochie! The huge rebound force caused Hu Wentian to crash heavily onto the ground. His mouth opened wide as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! Hu Wentian crawled up from the ground with great difficulty, wiping the blood off the corner of his mouth as he cursed inwardly. I knew that old fellow D-Shirton was up to no good. Everyone, rest here. After thinking for a moment, Hu Wentian said, "Wait for me to think of rumble." However, halfway through his words, Hu Wentian's pupils shrank as his heart sank to the bottom, because Hu Wentian discovered that the boulder in front of him was actually starting to roll. The passageway was only so big, and the boulder was moving at such a fast speed. One could imagine that if one was crushed by the boulder, even if they didn't die, they would at least lose a layer of skin. Set up the formation. At this critical moment, Hu Wentian became calm as he roared in a low voice. Voila! As Hu Wentian roared, the 12 heavenly supreme nine-tailed demon foxes moved in unison, standing behind Hu Wentian. The first nine-tailed demon fox placed its palm on Hu Wentian's back. The second nine-tailed demon fox placed its palm on the first nine-tailed demon fox's back, and so on. The 12 nine-tailed demon foxes formed a long dragon. Break! With the support of the 12 nine-tailed foxes, Hu Wentian took a deep breath and pushed his right hand forward once more. Compared to the previous palm strike, the might of Hu Wentian's palm strike was several times greater. Generally speaking, as long as the attack power reached a certain degree, it could be completely blown away. As such, Hu Wentian was gambling. He bet that he and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes could shatter the rock. If they won the bet, they would naturally be unobstructed. If they lost, they would all be wiped out. Bang! Hu Wentian roared madly as his palm came into contact with the rock. As soon as Hu Wentian came into contact with the rock, he felt a terrifying rebound force that was trying to send him flying. Ignite blood essence. Hu Wentian knew that the current situation was very dangerous, so he did not hesitate to ignite his blood essence in order to block the stone and shatter it. Chi-Chi. After burning his blood essence, Hu Wentian's fighting prowess had increased significantly. Kacha. Under the combined attacks of Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed foxes, the massive boulder finally succumbed to the pressure and split into two. Hua! Although the boulder shattered, Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes were all blasted away as they fell into the tunnel. Pu! 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 The 12 nine-tailed demon foxes, including Hu Wentian, all coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood as their auras plummeted. Rumble! Just when Hu Wentian wanted to rest, his eyes widened as he involuntarily cursed. F***ck me. How the F***ck do you want me to live? Hu Wentian wanted nothing more than to dismember D-Shirton into 8 pieces. The boulder at the front of the tunnel was destroyed, but at the back of the tunnel, another gigantic boulder appeared. Go! Destroying the boulder in front of them exhausted 80% of the yuan qi of Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes. Hu Wentian didn't dare to block the boulder at the back of the tunnel. His silhouette flickered as he took the lead, dashing towards the other end of the tunnel. Not only Hu Wentian, the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes didn't dare to be slow as well. All of them unleashed all their strength. In this tunnel, Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes were currently fleeing for their lives. In the other tunnel, Ningyu and Xieze were both dumbfounded. The deeper they went, the denser the yuan qi became. Not only that, there were also many saint-grade yuan crystals embedded into the stone walls on both sides of the tunnel. Only fools wouldn't take advantage of this opportunity. Ningyu didn't reject any of them. Along the way, he would take any saint-grade yuan crystal he saw. In merely 10 minutes, Ningyu had already plucked over 20 saint-grade yuan crystals from the walls. Other than keeping a few for cultivation, Ningyu gave all the remaining saint-grade yuan crystals to the sapling. If the sapling wanted to level up, it would require a huge amount of energy. And for the sake of obtaining the golden key from the Starsky flower, the sapling didn't hesitate to destroy its own golden branches. Now that Ningyu had obtained the saint-grade yuan crystals, he naturally had to give some to the sapling. Kaka! The speed at which the sapling devoured the saint-grade yuan crystal caused Ningyu to be greatly shocked. Ningyu needed a very long time to completely devour a saint-grade yuan crystal. On the other hand, the sapling only took a few minutes to devour a saint-grade yuan crystal. Ningyu, just give me a few hundred of these saint-grade yuan crystals, and I'm confident that I'll be able to reach the 6th grade Earth Supreme Realm again. The sapling said to Ningyu as it devoured the saint-grade yuan crystal. If you give me all the yuan crystals in the entire saint-grade yuan crystal vein, I'll be able to reach the heavenly supreme realm easily. Ningyu rolled his eyes at the sapling's words and ignored it. There were a few factions in the saint-grade yuan crystal vein, and there were even demon spirit realm experts imprisoned there. Wanting to obtain all the saint-grade yuan crystals in the saint-grade yuan crystal vein was harder than ascending to the heavens. Xieze, did you notice anything? Ningyu didn't forget to chat with Xieze along the way. After all, Xieze's cultivation was at the pinnacle of the heavenly supreme realm. Although he couldn't exert his peak battle strength, his perception was still stronger than Ningyu's. There shouldn't be any danger in this passage. Xieze lowered his voice. But I feel like someone's watching us. That's right, I feel the same way. Ningyu nodded and said, let's try not to make a sound and follow the passage. Russell, Xieze and Ningyu's guess was right. Everything they did in the passageway, including the saint-grade yuan crystals on the walls, was seen by Di Shirtian and Di Feng. In a secret chamber in the deepest part of the saint-grade yuan crystal vein, Di Shirtian, Di Feng, and 2 other late heavenly supreme realm experts were all standing. On the wall in front of them, there was a square crystal hanging across the wall. The crystal was divided into 2 parts. The first part was the situation in Hu Wentian's passage. The second part was the situation in Ningyu and Xieze's passage. Chapter 16:29. Chapter 16:29. The final formation. Xielin and Xieze shouldn't have any problems. Di Feng looked at the second part of the crystal for a moment before turning to the first part. He said, Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes, stay behind. Stay behind. Hearing this, Di Shirtian was slightly startled as he asked in bewilderment, according to the agreement, shouldn't they all die in the passageway? The reason why Di Shirtian was bewildered was because they had already discussed this earlier. They would activate the formation in the tunnel and let Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes die in the tunnel. Leave the formation in the tunnel for another group of people. The corner of Di Feng's lips curled into a smile as he said, sinisterly, lure Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes into the final formation. This all right. Di Shirtian wanted to say something, but he could only nod and leave the secret room when he saw Di Feng's gaze. The 2 of you bring all the saint-grade origin crystals that have been mined. After Di Shirtian left, Di Feng said to the 2 late heavenly supremes, also, tell those who are mining the saint-grade origin crystals to speed up. Yes. The 2 late-stage Sky Supremes nodded at the same time and left the room one after the other. Success or failure depends on this. After everyone left, Di Feng took a deep breath and his face turned solemn. Since the discovery of the Saint-Grade Origin Crystal Mine, the Emperor Palace had been using the Saint-Grade Origin Crystal Mine as the center to carry out a secret and grand project. As long as the project was completed, the Emperor Palace would become the true overlord of the Sky Demon region. By then, the Emperor Palace would be able to trample over the entire Sky Demon region easily. Of course, everything was based on the successful completion of this project. Go and make some preparations. Di Feng's body flickered and gradually became illusory. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Rumble. In the tunnel where Hu Wentian was. The huge rock that was chasing Hu Wentian and the rest suddenly stopped. A crack appeared on the ground, and the huge rock fell into the crack and disappeared. What's going on? Hu Wentian and the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes were shocked by the sudden change. They were about to be crushed by the rock. Why did the rock suddenly disappear? Crack. Ling Hu Wentian and the others were still in shock. As soon as the stone behind them disappeared, another stone appeared in front of them. However, it was different this time. This time, a door appeared beside the rock. Creak. Moreover, the door was still open. Go in. Hu Wentian was not an indecisive person. He didn't think too much and immediately decided to enter the room. In any case, Hu Wentian had already figured it out. If Di Shirtian wanted him dead, he had already died countless times. After all, there was the black qi within his body. As long as Di Shirtian controlled the black qi, he would undoubtedly die. Since Di Shirtian didn't kill him, it meant that Di Shirtian didn't want to kill him. Swish, swish, swish. Hu Wentian led the 12 nine-tailed demon foxes into the room in front of the stone. Creak. The moment Hu Wentian and the others stepped into the room, the door closed behind them. Everyone, follow me closely. Since he had decided to enter the room, Hu Wentian would not back down. He released his perception and carefully moved forward. They advanced for half an hour. The road ahead suddenly opened up. What is this place? Hu Wentian discovered. At this moment, he was no longer in the room, but in a spacious area. There were 4 walls in all directions, blocking off all paths of retreat. Above them, there was an invisible net that was firmly guarding them. We're surrounded. Hu Wentian's expression turned extremely unsightly. The few times he came here with Di Shirtian, he had never been to this place. Now that he was here, his heart sank to the bottom. Being surrounded wasn't what Hu Wentian was worried about. What he was worried about was the 5 terrifying auras that had appeared in the surroundings. Peak Heavenly Supreme. Without a doubt, the 5 terrifying auras were the same peak-level Heavenly Supreme that Hu Wentian had sensed previously. Creak. Right at this moment, a crack appeared on the wall to the east, and 2 figures appeared. Ningyu and Xieze. These 2 figures were none other than Ningyu and Xieze. Senior, Hu, you not good? Upon seeing Hu Wentian, Ningyu wanted to ask, but his heart skipped a beat. 5 peak-level Heavenly Supreme auras appeared at the same time. Sensing the 5 terrifying auras, Ningyu's expression turned even uglier than Hu Wentian's. However, Ningyu's reaction was extremely fast, and he calmed down in the blink of an eye. From the situation in the tunnel, Di Shirtian didn't harm him. Evidently, Di Shirtian wanted to lure his master here. There's nothing bad about it. I'm sure you've already discovered something. Space split apart as a faint laughter entered the ears of Ningyu and Hu Wentian. Soon after, Di Shirtian appeared. What do you mean by this? Seeing Di Shirtian's appearance, Hu Wentian coldly snorted. You lured me here, but didn't say anything. Are you toying with me? Don't be angry. How could I possibly be toying with you? Di Shirtian waved his hands. Take out the Star Heaven flower. Oomph. Why should I give it to you? Hu Wentian coldly snorted. Swish. However, just as Hu Wentian snorted, a gigantic elemental energy chain appeared beside him. The chain arced through the air, ruthlessly slamming into Hu Wentian's chest. Pa! The immense force sent Hu Wentian crashing into the wall. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since I told you to hand over the Star Heaven flower, obediently hand it over. Di Shirtian coldly spoke. Xiao! Xiao! Seeing Hu Wentian being slammed by the elemental energy chain, the 2 nine-tailed demon foxes simultaneously dashed towards Di Shirtian. Courting death, Di Shirtian made a grabbing motion in the air as 2 elemental energy chains appeared. Puchi! Puchi! The elemental energy chains swung through the air, unavoidable as they slammed into the necks of the 2 nine-tailed demon foxes. Di Shirtian's attacks were ruthless, not holding back in the slightest. In an instant, the 2 nine-tailed demon foxes died miserably under the elemental energy chains. After casually slapping the 2 nine-tailed demon foxes to death, Di Shirtian once again swung the elemental energy chains in his hands, preparing to attack again. Wait, I'll pass the Star Heaven flower to you. Seeing that Di Shirtian still wanted to attack, Hu Wentian hurriedly took out the Star Heaven flower from his robes and tossed it over to Di Shirtian. Catch! Di Shirtian didn't even bother to look at the Star Heaven flower. With a flick of the elemental energy chains, the Star Heaven flower flew towards Ningyu. Pa! Ningyu stretched out his right hand, firmly grasping the Star Heaven flower in his palm. I've already helped you obtain the Star Heaven flower. Can you call your master over now? Chapter 16:30. Transfiguration. Ning Yu's heart thumped. Although he knew what Di Tian was thinking, Ning Yu was still a little taken aback when he heard it from Di Tian's mouth. From Di Tian's expression, Ning Yu could see the calmness and confidence in Di Tian. That was to say, Di Tian had a way to deal with a half-sane expert. Looks like I can't let Guo Liang take the risk, Ning Yu thought to himself. Originally, Ning Yu planned to let Grandmaster Xingyun and Guo Liang come to the Saint Grade Origin Crystal Vein after Grandmaster Xingyun finished refining the elixir. Now, it seemed that the situation might be a little irresponsible. Even if Guo Liang came, he wouldn't be able to deal with Di Tian or the martial artist behind him. What? Is there a problem? The expression of hesitation on Ning Yu's face was completely seen by Di Tian. Furrowing his brows, Di Tian threatened, "Your fate is in my hands. If your master doesn't come over, I can only apologize to you." "No problem," Ning Yu hurriedly said. "It's just that I don't know where master is. He might only come over after a few days." One day, Di Tian thought for a moment before stretching out a finger. "From now on, I'll give you a day's time. After a day, I hope to see your master. If not, you should know the consequences." Leaving behind these words, Di Tian tore through space and vanished from sight. After Di Tian disappeared, the 5 pinnacle heavenly supremes' auras also disappeared. What now? 10 minutes after Di Tian disappeared, Hu Wentian carefully transmitted his voice to Ning Yu. "You said that you have a way to deal with 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns. What is it?" 5 pinnacle sky supremes don't mean that there are 5 pinnacle sky supremes. Ning Yu took out the Star Heaven flower and placed it in his hand. He casually fiddled with the Star Heaven flower as he transmitted his voice. Ning Yu was not as rash as Hu Wentian. In order to not attract Di Tian's attention, he had to pretend to contact his master. In the past 10 minutes, Ning Yu had carefully probed his surroundings. After 10 minutes of probing, Ning Yu was surprised to find that he was in a huge array formation. This wide area was right in the middle of the formation. After discovering it was a formation, Ning Yu could basically conclude that Di Tian wanted to lure his master here, and then activate the formation to refine all of them. The news made Ning Yu's expression turn ugly. But what made Ning Yu feel gratified was that the 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns' auras were just primordial spirits, not pinnacle heavenly sovereigns. False bravado. Evidently, Di Tian had used the aura of 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns to intimidate Ning Yu and Hu Wentian. "You're saying that there aren't 5 pinnacle heavenly sovereigns in the Saint Grade Origin Crystal Vein?" Hu Wentian's heart jolted as he immediately asked. "That's right." Ning Yu nodded his head lightly and said, "You and the remaining 10 nine-tailed demon foxes, try your best to find an exit. Divert their attention." "No problem." Hu Wentian could only choose to believe in Ning Yu. He and the remaining 10 nine-tailed demon foxes moved around, touching left and right. They even attacked the walls with spells, trying to find an exit. How worrisome. As expected, Hu Wentian and the rest's actions made Di Tian's face turn ugly. Originally, Di Tian wanted to see how Ning Yu was going to contact his master. After the commotion from Hu Wentian and the rest, Di Tian decided to help Imperial Peak and lure the other 3 forces over. Okay, Di Tian disappeared. The rock that was pressing down on Ning Yu's heart also disappeared. Ning Yu threw the starry sky flower into his storage ring and got the sapling to break it open and take out the golden key. After that, Ning Yu contacted Hu Wentian and asked directly, "Tell me, what's the use of the golden key in the starry sky flower?" Hearing Ning Yu's words, Hu Wentian hesitated for a while before he gritted his teeth and said, "Di Tian and the rest have a crystal coffin. I checked the keyhole on the coffin, and it matches the golden key in the starry sky flower." Crystal coffin? Keyhole? Ning Yu's heart was in turmoil. Now, Ningyu already knew that Di Shirtian and the rest were planning a huge conspiracy with the Saint Grade Origin crystal vein as the center. Hu Wentian said that he saw the crystal coffin and there was a high possibility that a demon spirit realm expert was imprisoned here. There were only two possibilities. First, the one lying in the crystal coffin was a peerless expert of the Emperor Palace, a half-sage, or even a sage-level expert. Second, the demon spirit realm expert was imprisoned in the crystal coffin. Regardless of which possibility it was, Ningyu felt that this matter was extremely thorny. The golden key must not be obtained by Di Shirtian. It's out. At this moment, the sapling used the Saint Grade Yuan crystal to retrieve the golden key from the starry skyflower. After retrieving the golden key, the sapling heaved a sigh of relief, looking a little dispirited. In order to retrieve the golden key, the sapling had expended a lot of its energy and almost dropped its cultivation by another level. Hu Wentian, conserve your strength first. Ningyu took out a few pieces of Saint Grade Yuan crystal and threw them to Hu Wentian before communicating with the sapling. Ningyu had to know what the golden key was. From Ningyu's point of view, the sapling definitely knew more than Hu Wentian. There was no better way to ask the sapling. Sapling, tell me honestly, what is the golden key? Ningyu said in a deep voice with a solemn expression. I can't hide it anymore, so there's no harm in telling you. I can sense a trace of the world tree branch's aura from the golden key. The sapling stretched out a branch and wrapped it around the golden key. The golden key should be very close to the world tree branch. I want to use the golden key to find the world tree branch. The world tree branch. Ningyu's eyes widened, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. There were a few ways for the sapling to increase its strength. The first method required a large amount of energy, and the second method was to find the world tree branch and devour it. The reason why the sapling could reach the 5th grade Earth Sovereign Realm was because it continuously devoured the world tree branch. If the sapling relied on energy to level up, it would require a large amount of energy. I can sense that as long as I can obtain the world tree branch, I'll be able to raise my cultivation to the heavenly supreme realm and transform. The sapling's words were filled with excitement. Transform? Ningyu's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed. In fact, Ningyu was even more excited than the sapling. Once the sapling could transform, its strength would soar to a whole new level. Furthermore, the sapling was unique in that it had a lot of knowledge. After all, the cultivators who were qualified to gain enlightenment under the world tree were at least heavenly sovereigns, and some were even heavenly sages. Chapter 1631. Chapter 1631. Chapter 1631 Arrive. I'll leave the golden key to you for safekeeping. Ningyu did not let his excitement get to his head. Although the sapling's strength would increase greatly after transforming, it still needed to transform first. Now that they were trapped in this formation, there was no way for them to leave in a short period of time. If he couldn't leave the formation, then everything would be in vain. Therefore, Ningyu decided to let the sapling carry the golden key and hide it in the storage ring until they left the spell formation. Ningyu could basically conclude that the purpose of Di Shirtian's formation wasn't as simple as trapping him and Hu Wentian. If that was the case, Di Shirtian would have made his move long ago. There was no need for him to do so. No problem, the sapling replied, and then fell silent. The sapling had also heard Hu Wentian's words clearly. The sapling definitely wouldn't leave the storage ring before it saw the crystal coffin. I hope the golden arowana fish king and the others don't come over. After talking to the sapling, Ningyu could not help but look in the direction of Foxman Valley. According to their prior agreement, as long as Grandmaster Xing Yun refined 10 batches of pills, the golden arowana fish king and the others would rush over at full speed. In the beginning, Ningyu had not thought it through. He had thought that with Master Zhao and Guoliang around, they would definitely be able to enter the depths of the Saint Grade crystal mine. Grandmaster Zhao was responsible for breaking the formation, while Guoliang was responsible for dealing with Di Shirtian and the rest. But now, It seemed that the agreement back then was clearly a little childish. Not to mention whether Guoliang could display the combat strength of a half-step saint. Even if he could display the combat strength of a half-step saint, he would still die if he broke into this formation, because the formation De Chertion had set up could even trap a half-step saint expert. The only plan now was for Guoliang to secretly bring Grandmaster Zhao here. After that, Grandmaster Zhao would break the formation while Guoliang would block De Chertion. Of course, the possibility of that happening was extremely small and could basically be ignored. After all, this formation was located in the deepest part of the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine. Without the help of De Chertion and the rest, there was no way to get here. Someone's here. However, just as Ning Yu was secretly anxious, his expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly retreated. Creak! After taking a few steps back, the stone wall opposite Ning Yu slowly opened, and a figure flew out from it. Hundred-handed devil. Ning Yu couldn't help but cry out when he saw the figure that suddenly appeared. He was right. The cultivator who flew out of the stone wall was none other than the old woman who had swallowed Meng Quan and the others, the hundred-handed demon. Voila! When Ning Yu saw the hundred-armed devil, the hundred-armed devil naturally saw Ning Yu as well. With a flick of his wrist, the hundred-armed ghost demon summoned the small world and held it in his right palm. He said in a deep voice, "You can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Let's see where you can run to this time. Sapling, can you still control the small world? Why is my connection with the small world becoming weaker and weaker?" Ning Yu didn't talk to the hundred-armed devil. Instead, he secretly contacted the sapling. The reason why Ning Yu and the sapling returned the small world to the hundred-armed devil was so that the next time they met, they could use the small world to counter the hundred-armed devil. But now, Ning Yu felt that his connection with the small world was getting weaker and weaker. This feeling seemed to indicate that the hundred-armed devil had found some clues. Ha ha ha! Before the sapling could answer Ning Yu, the hundred-armed devil laughed wildly and said, "You think I don't know that you've done something to the small world? Now, let's see how you're going to take the small world from my hands." The hundred-armed devil dragged a nearly transparent crystal ball in his hand. Obviously, the small world was stored in the crystal ball by the hundred-armed devil. "So, you know everything." Ning Yu's expression was ugly, and he even revealed a look of fear. "What do you want? Say it." The hundred-armed devil raised his eyebrows and stared at Ning Yu with interest. "I don't want anything. I just want to swallow all of you and leave this damn place." Whoosh! As the hundred-armed devil's voice fell, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed foxes surrounded her tightly. The hundred-armed devil's cultivation was at the late heavenly supreme realm. Although it didn't seem very high, Hu Wentian's strength was only half of his peak, or even lower due to the black gas in his body. Being surrounded by Hu Wentian in this state, the hundred-armed devil did not panic at all. In fact, he even said sinisterly, "I advise you not to make an enemy out of me. Otherwise, I'll let you know the meaning of cruelty." Swish! As he spoke, the hundred-armed devil flicked his wrist and threw the crystal ball into the air. The hundred-armed devil chanted an incantation, wanting to display the small world. Within the small world, the hundred-armed devil was the absolute ruler. Therefore, the hundred-armed devil wanted to use the small world to deal with Hu Wentian and the others. This way, it could save her a lot of unnecessary trouble. However, the hundred-armed devil finished chanting, but the crystal ball did not show any signs of cracking. If the crystal ball didn't crack, it meant that the small world couldn't be displayed, and it couldn't trap Hu Wentian and Ning Yu inside. What's going on? The hundred-armed devil was puzzled. She couldn't figure out what went wrong. Logically speaking, she had already gotten rid of Ning Yu's soul force and primordial spirit in the small world. So why couldn't she control the small world? Could it be that Ning Yu still had some other trump card? Thinking about it, the hundred-armed devil's face turned cold as he yelled at Ning Yu, "Speak! What did you do to the small world?" "Nothing," Ning Yu shrugged and said. "What does it have to do with me that you can't control the small world?" "Arg! Die!" The hundred-armed devil went berserk and let out a hysterical roar. She thought that she had controlled the small world, but who would have thought that everything was still under Ningyu's control? If it was anyone else, they would have exploded in anger. After the roar, the 100-armed devil's figure flashed and rushed toward Ningyu. Whoosh! However, before the 100-armed devil could reach Ningyu, he was stopped by Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes. Rumble! Immediately, a great battle broke out in this area. Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes had a terrifying combat power. For a moment, the 100-armed devil and the 100-armed demon foxes were evenly matched. Sapling, are you able to contact the small world or not? Seeing that the battle between the 100-armed devil and Hu Wentian was getting more and more intense, Ningyu hurriedly contacted the sapling and sounded very anxious. Don't worry. As long as I want to, I can take back the small world at any time, the sapling replied. But now is not the time to rush it. Why? Ningyu was puzzled. Good steel is used on the blade. You will know in a moment. Chapter 16:32. A chaotic battle. If you don't tell me, I won't help you find the crystal coffin, Ningyu said angrily. There was a way to deal with the 100-armed demon, but the sapling insisted on messing around. After all, the 100-armed demon was extremely powerful. It would be bad if Hu Wentian and the others died. I'll tell you, all right? The sapling had no choice but to say, even if we find the crystal coffin and open it with the golden key, we won't be able to obtain the world tree branch inside. We have to use the small world. Could it be that the world tree branch inside the crystal coffin is alive? Ningyu's heart trembled. You can say that. The sapling did not hide anything this time. Actually, I'm thinking of throwing the crystal coffin into the small world, then the small world into the spatial ring, and the spatial ring into the Tower of Yuzu. With these 3 layers of protection, we should be able to obtain the world tree branch inside the crystal coffin. Ningyu rolled his eyes when he heard that. Was there a need for that? If even the spatial ring and the Tower of Yuzu couldn't control the crystal coffin, then even a small world would be useless. Quick, control the small world and defeat the 100-armed demon. Ningyu said, we have a lot of enemies to deal with. Let's get rid of each one. Don't think of any unscrupulous methods. All right. The sapling agreed and began to control the small world inside the crystal ball. Crack! Under the control of the sapling, the crystal ball suddenly cracked open and the small world inside spread toward the 100-armed demon. Shit! The 100-armed demon was indeed a late-stage heavenly supreme cultivator of the demon spirit realm. The moment the small world opened, she immediately sensed something amiss and retreated. However, the area was only so big. The 100-armed demon only took a few steps back before her back was against the stone wall. Creak! Just as the small world was about to suck the 100-armed demon in, a sudden change occurred. The wall behind the 100-armed demon suddenly cracked open, and 3 figures dashed into it. Come back! This change not only scared the 100-armed ghost demon into retreating, but even Ningyu's expression changed greatly. He hurriedly ordered the sapling to return to the small world. Without knowing if the other party was a friend or a foe, Ningyu did not want to take the risk. Shio! The sapling was not a hothead. As soon as Ningyu said that, he controlled the small world and charged towards Ningyu. Go in! Ningyu reacted quickly, and he hurriedly opened his storage ring to allow his miniature world to enter it. Ningyu didn't have to worry about the sapling in his storage ring. Whoosh! 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 After keeping the miniature world, Ningyu stared at the 3 figures rushing out of the stone wall with a grave expression. Of the 3 figures in front of him, one was a white-haired old man, another was a short and fat old man, and the last one was a woman wearing a bamboo hat. Ningyu did not pay much attention to the woman wearing the bamboo hat, because her cultivation was too low to be feared. As for the other 2, Ningyu found them tricky. Mid-heavenly supreme. The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man were both mid-heavenly supreme. From the aura they emitted, Ningyu could basically conclude that they were only 1 step away from the late heavenly supreme. 100-armed ghost demon, I didn't expect to see you here. The white-haired old man's gaze swept across the area for a while, then fell on the 100-armed ghost demon, and he said sinisterly, "You left ahead of us, but you still failed to rescue Senior. Aren't you too useless?" "Wrong." The short and fat old man waved his hand and said, "Not useless, but extremely useless." Crack, crack. The 100-armed ghost demon was a little relieved to hear the first half of the short and fat old man's words. But when she heard the second half, she clenched her fists and said coldly, "No matter how useless I am, I'm still stronger than the two of you. You're already so old, but you've only reached the mid-heavenly supreme. Have you been cultivating for so many years? You're courting death." The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man said in unison, seemingly intending to fight the 100-armed ghost demon. "Let's fight. It's best if we fight." Seeing that the white-haired old man and the 100-armed ghost demon were in conflict, Ning Yu's worry eased a little. If the 100-armed ghost demon and the white-haired old man joined hands, the consequences would be unimaginable. The small world could deal with the 100-armed ghost demon, but that was because the 100-armed ghost demon had left too much soul force in the small world. Against the small world, the 100-armed ghost demon couldn't put up much resistance. The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man were different. The small world alone couldn't pose much of a threat to them. "We're all in the demon spirit realm. Why don't we join hands and get rid of them first?" Suddenly, the 100-armed ghost demon's killing intent vanished, and he began discussing cooperation with the white-haired old man and the others. "Get rid of them?" Hearing the 100-armed ghost demon's words, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man were stunned. They pointed at Hu Wentian's group and said, "An injured pinnacle heavenly supreme and 10 initial phase heavenly supreme 9-tailed demonic foxes. Not a weak force. What about the other two?" The 100-armed ghost demon pointed at Ning Yu and Xieze. "After we deal with them, I'll leave all the 9-tailed demonic foxes to you. I only want those two pieces of trash." The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man were stunned. They had no idea what the 100-armed ghost demon was planning. He didn't want the 9-tailed demonic fox in the heavenly supreme realm, but he insisted on 2 pieces of trash in the earth supreme realm. "That's right. I only want those 2 pieces of trash." The 100-armed ghost demon nodded. "Forget it. Up to you. If you want trash, we'll give them to you when the time comes." The white-haired old man shrugged. "The 2 of us will deal with the 9-tailed demonic fox. You deal with those 2. Swish, swish. As they spoke, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man charged at Hu Wentian's group. Damn it. Seeing the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man fighting, the 100-armed ghost demon was so angry that he wanted to kill them. How could she deal with Ning Yu and Xieze? The small world was still in Ning Yu's hands. As long as Ning Yu activated the small world, she wouldn't be able to resist. "I heard that you want to kill us 2 pieces of trash." Ning Yu glanced at the other side of the battlefield before his gaze fell on the 100-armed ghost demon. "We're standing right here. You can come and kill us if you want. Don't get cocky." The 100-armed ghost demon said coldly, "If I don't kill you, you won't dare to kill me." "You're right. We don't dare to kill you." Ning Yu nodded. "But we can use the small world as bait and let those 2 old men act on our behalf. They're in the demon spirit realm. Do you think they'll believe you?" The 100-armed ghost demon sneered. "In the face of absolute benefits, they have no choice but to believe me." Chapter 1633. Whipping, they'll kill you and take away all the Saint grade origin crystals you have. The 100-armed demon shrugged and said, "As long as you say it, they will do it. I can guarantee you that." Looks like you're not that stupid after all." Ning Yu let out a smile and said, "Let's make a deal. You and Hu Wentian will team up and kill those 2 old men, and I will swear an oath to the heavens that I will not attack you within 3 days. You want to make a deal with me? No problem, but give me back the miniature world first." The 100-armed demon's heart skipped a beat before she said. The 100-armed demon was not an idiot. She would definitely be able to see through Ning Yu's obvious scheme. The sandpiper and clam fight, and the fisherman reaps the benefits. If she were to fight the white-haired old man, Ningyu would most likely turn on her as soon as the battle ended. No problem. Ningyu did not reject the 100-armed demon's request. He took out a storage bag from his sumaru ring and shook it in his hand. The miniature world is inside this storage bag. Once you swear an oath to the heavens, I will give it to you immediately. Are you kidding me? How would I know if there's a miniature? The 100-armed demon said coldly. However, the 100-armed demon's voice came to a halt before she could finish her sentence. Because the 100-armed demon could indeed see the miniature world inside the storage bag. Does he really want to return the miniature world to me? The 100-armed demon's eyes locked onto the storage bag and asked in confusion, "What's your decision?" Ningyu shook the storage bag again and asked, "I've changed my mind. Open the miniature world. I want to withdraw my force of soul from the miniature world." The 100-armed demon pondered for a moment before she said in a deep voice, "I'm not lying to you this time. Once I withdraw my force of soul, I will swear an oath to the heavens and help you deal with those two old men." As you wish. Ningyu did not reject the 100-armed demon's offer. He secretly contacted the sapling and asked it to release its control over the miniature world. Shio. As soon as the sapling released its control over the small world, the 100-armed devil took back the soul power that was left in the small world. Who? Withdrawing his soul power, the 100-armed devil showed a relieved expression. It didn't matter if she lost the small world, as long as she didn't let Ningyu get hold of it. Now, can we join forces with Hu Wentian to deal with those two old men? Ningyu's voice was transmitted to the 100-armed devil's ears. After this is done, one for each of us. All right. The 100-armed devil stepped on the ground with his right foot and was the first to join the battle. What the hell are you doing? The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man had been suppressing Hu Wentian and the others to the point where they could hardly breathe, leaving them no room to retaliate at all. But with the addition of the 100-armed devil, Hu Wentian and the rest were completely freed. The 100-armed devil dealt with the white-haired old man, while Hu Wentian brought 10 sky, supreme, 9-tailed demonic foxes to deal with the short and fat old man. Seeing that the feast that was in his hands was ruined by the 100-armed devil, the white-haired old man immediately reprimanded, "We've worked so hard to deal with the 9-tailed demonic foxes for you. And not only are you not grateful to us, you even want to make us your enemy. In the face of absolute benefits, why should I be grateful to you?" The 100-armed devil retorted, "With my strength, I can only suppress one of you and the short and fat old man. If the two of you join forces, I will die without a burial. But the 9-tailed demonic foxes and the rest are different. Even if they join forces, they won't be able to suppress me completely." Since the 100-armed demonic devil had put it this way, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man finally understood. After understanding the situation, the white-haired old man wished he could chop the 100-armed devil into pieces. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have recklessly dealt with Hu Wentian and the rest. If he had joined forces with Hu Wentian and the rest to deal with the 100-armed devil, the two of them would definitely be the ones to benefit in the end. But it was too late to say anything now. The white-haired old man could only fight the 100-armed devil with all his might, hoping that he could severely injure the 100-armed devil. The white-haired old man still held onto a glimmer of hope. As long as the short and fat old man could kill Hu Wentian and the rest, he would have a chance of survival. In the face of reality, ideals were just ideals. 10 minutes passed. Under the powerful attacks of Hu Wentian and the 10 9-tailed demonic foxes, the short and fat old man was careless and was hit in the chest, sending his body flying. Pung! Poochie! Crashing heavily into the stone wall, the short and fat old man spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura fell to rock bottom. No! Seeing that the short and fat old man was defeated, the white-haired old man raised his head and shouted, "You dare to be distracted while fighting me? I think you must be tired of living." The white-haired old man's momentary daze cost him his blood. The 100-armed devil seized the opportunity and punched the old man in the chest, sending him flying and crashing heavily into the stone wall on the other side. The short and fat old man and the white-haired old man were sitting on the ground, one on the left and the other on the right. I want the white-haired old man. The 100-armed devil glanced at Ningyu coldly and walked toward the white-haired old man. What are you trying to do? Looking at the 100-armed devil that was approaching him, the white-haired old man shouted, "We are both in the devil's spirit realm. If you dare to devour me, my family will definitely not let you off." Noisy. The 100-armed devil kicked the white-haired old man's head. The huge force made the white-haired old man dizzy and see stars. Die. Since the 100-armed devil had decided to attack, she would not hold back. She waved her hands continuously, and in an instant, illusory palm images appeared. Pa pa pa. Although they were illusory palm images, each of them landed a solid blow on the white-haired old man's face. Not long after, the white-haired old man's head was beaten into a pig's head. Devour. After beating the white-haired old man into a pig's head, the 100-armed devil quickly used her trump card to devour the white-haired old man. Voila! However, just when the 100-armed devil was about to devour the white-haired old man, a sudden change occurred. The void suddenly split open, and a waist-thick yuan qi chain suddenly appeared and fiercely whipped toward the 100-armed devil. Not good. This change obviously shocked the 100-armed devil. With no time to think, the 100-armed devil hurriedly retreated, trying to dodge the waist-thick yuan qi chain. The 100-armed devil had a good idea, but in reality, she was half a beat too slow. Pa! The yuan qi chain was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had whipped the 100-armed devil's face. A crisp sound rang out. A thin and long bloody mark appeared on the 100-armed devil's face. As for the 100-armed devil, she was whipped and flew backward, falling beside the white-haired old man. Seeing that the 100-armed devil was whipped by the yuan qi chain, Ningyu hurriedly stopped devouring the short and fat old man. One could imagine that if Ningyu dared to continue devouring the short and fat old man, the yuan qi chain would definitely whip him. Who is it? Chapter 1634. Chapter 1634. Chapter 1634 appear at the Enpa. Just as the 100-armed devil shouted, the essence qi chain appeared again and whipped his other cheek. The burning sensation on his face caused the 100-armed devil's expression to turn ugly. He hadn't even seen the enemy's face, but there were already 2 bloody scars on his face. Anyone in his position would be furious. However, the 100-armed devil's irritation only lasted for a short while before he returned to normal. Damn it! At this point, the 100-armed devil had already recognized the reality. The more he jumped, the more tragic and miserable his ending would be. Voila! Perhaps it was because the 100-armed devil had become obedient. The essence qi chain directly melted into the void and disappeared. Only when the essence qi chains disappeared did the 100-handed devil let out a long sigh of relief. To be honest, the pressure from the essence qi chains on the 100-armed ghost demon was too great. It was so great that the 100-armed ghost demon didn't even dare to let out a fart. It's time to fulfill my promise. After waiting for a while and making sure that the vitality chain wouldn't appear, the 100-armed devil's mind became active again. She moved closer to Ningyu and said in a low voice, "Give me the small world." "My apologies." Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, "I won't give you the small world before you kill the white-haired old man." "You." The 100-armed ghost demon clenched his fists tightly. He couldn't wait to kill Ningyu. But now, the 100-armed devil was very calm. He was not impulsive at all. If he rashly attacked and killed Ningyu, it was very likely that he would attract the vitality chains again. The 100-armed devil did not want to experience the might of the essence qi chain a second time. Since they were trapped in this area, as long as Ningyu did not leave with the small world, everything would be fine. Gotcha! At this moment, the stone wall near the 100-armed devil suddenly caved in. Damn it! Seeing that the stone wall had caved in, the 100-armed devil hurriedly retreated. Shio! Shio! Just as the 100-armed devil took a few steps back, 3 figures dashed out from the sunken stone wall. I can't believe it. As soon as the 3 figures appeared, apart from the 100-armed devil, even Ning Yu and Hu Wentian couldn't help but curse. Pinnacle Heavenly Supreme. 3 Pinnacle Sky Supreme Realm Cultivators. No, to be precise, it should be 3 Pinnacle Sky Supreme Realm Demonic Beasts. Although the 3 figures were in human form, Ning Yu and the 100-armed devil knew very well that these 3 figures were actually demonic beasts. A Pinnacle Sky Supreme Demonic Beast was extremely powerful. The combined strength of these 3 figures could even rival a half-saint realm human. What is this place? 3 figures, 2 tall and 1 short. The first to speak was the shortest figure. His gaze first swept across the 100-armed demon and the rest before stopping on Ningyu. Tell me the truth, and I can spare your life. Gulp. Although he didn't know why the shortest demonic beast chose him, Ningyu was very clear that he had to be smarter. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. We're trapped. Right now, we're in a magic array, Ningyu said carefully. What? The shorter demonic beast's eyes opened wide, and his eyeballs were round and round as he said in a cold voice, You better speak clearly, or I'll kill you. As he spoke, the shortest demonic beast unleashed his aura, suppressing Ningyu. How arrogant. Just as the shortest demonic beast's aura was about to suppress Ningyu, a strange change occurred. A cold snort resounded in the area. Chi. Subsequently, the void split apart, and a figure stood firmly in front of Ningyu. Di Shirtian. The figure that suddenly appeared was precisely Di Shirtian. At this moment, Di Shirtian stood in front of Ningyu with his hands behind his back. His brows arched as he arrogantly looked at the shortest demonic beast. I want to see how you're going to kill my friends. Swish. Swish. Di Shirtian's appearance caused the expressions of the other 2 demonic beasts to drastically change. They hurriedly flew in front of the shortest demonic beast and stood side by side with him. Oh, I was wondering who it was. So it's the 3 heroes of the Moling Mountain Range. Seeing the 2 taller cultivators standing on the left and right of the shortest, the corner of Di Shirtian's mouth curled up as he sinisterly said, It's rumored that the 3 heroes of the Moling Mountain Range have unfathomable cultivation and are incomparably powerful. But from the looks of it, they're merely SOSO. If you're tactful, hurry up and release our friends. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer. One of the taller cultivators coldly said, seemingly intending to make a move. That's right. Back then, when Master was in seclusion, you guys executed an extremely vicious array and captured 5 of our pinnacle heavenly sovereign companions. This time, the reason why we're here is to rescue our companions. The other taller cultivator coldly said, I'm sorry. Back then, I could capture your companions. Now I can capture you guys. Di Shirtian slowly shook his head as he coldly said, Let me give you guys a piece of advice. Hurry up and surrender. Otherwise, this place will be the place of your deaths. Kill. The 3 pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beasts had always been arrogant. How could they endure Di Shirtian's provocation? The 3 of them exchanged glances and could see the killing intent in each other's eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures, 3 pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beasts, charged towards Di Shirtian from 3 different directions. Facing the 3 heavenly sovereign realm demonic beasts, Di Shirtian wasn't the slightest bit afraid. On the contrary, he chased after them and took the initiative to attack. Have you lost your mind? Seeing that Di Shirtian actually took the initiative to attack, the 100-armed devil couldn't help exclaiming, I think you've forgotten the pain after your wounds healed. From the start, Ningyu didn't believe that Di Shirtian would lose. Di Shirtian even dared to scheme against a half-saint, not to mention 3 pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beasts. Walla, walla, walla. As expected, Ningyu's guess was right. As Di Shirtian's silhouette dashed out, 3 yuan chi chains appeared in front of him. Di Shirtian waved his hands, and the energy chains tore through space each corresponding to a pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beast. Pa, pa, pa. Under the powerful pressure of the energy chains, the three pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm demonic beasts didn't even have the time to dodge and were slapped in the face. 3 bloody marks appeared on the faces of the 3 demonic beasts. I forgot to tell you guys something. In this array, I'm the absolute ruler. Succeeding in his attack, Di Shirtian retracted the Yuan Qi chains as he indifferently stated, "You guys still have one more day to live. In this one day, I hope that you guys will behave yourselves and not kill each other. If not, I will let you guys know the meaning of cruelty." Buzz. Chapter 1635. Crystal Coffin Crash. The moment Di Shirtian disappeared, the 3 pinnacle sky, supreme realm demonic beasts became enraged. They want to start a massacre in this region. Swish. However, before the 3 demonic beasts could make a move, Di Shirtian appeared once again. I've thought about it again, and I feel that I can't let you guys stay together. Di Shirtian made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and in an instant, a huge energy chain appeared in his hand. In the next instant, Di Shirtian swung the energy chain in his hand, dividing the area into 4 regions. Ning Yu and Hu Wentian were in one region. The 100-armed devil and the white-haired elder were in another, and the 3 pinnacle sky supreme realm demonic beasts were in another. As for the last region, it was empty, as though it was waiting for something. Very well, we'll meet again in a day. Di Shirtian kept the energy chain and nodded his head in satisfaction. His figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. This time, an hour after Di Shirtian disappeared, the 3 pinnacle sky supreme realm demonic beasts cautiously approached the boundary of the region. In fact, the shorter demonic beast even stretched out his hand, wanting to touch the barrier. Chi-Chi, just as his hand touched the barrier, the shorter demonic beast hurriedly retracted it. Although his speed was fast, the shorter demonic beast's hand still turned pitch black. The shorter demonic beast's face turned ugly. Fortunately, his reaction was fast, or his right hand would have been sliced in 2. What barrier is this? Why is it so powerful? One of the taller demonic beasts looked at the shorter demonic beast's hand, then at the barrier. We have to think of a way to leave. The other demonic beast didn't bother to check the barrier. His thoughts were simple. If they couldn't leave within a day, the consequences would be unimaginable. Di Shirtian's expression was so calm and collected. One could very well imagine that the fate of their 5 companions who were captured boded ill rather than well. If they couldn't leave quickly, they might even die here. Ningyu, what should we do now? Hu Wentian didn't care about the actions of the 3 pinnacle sky, supreme, realm demonic beasts. At this point, Hu Wentian had placed all his hopes on Ningyu. After all, it was impossible for him and 10 sky, supreme, 9-tailed foxes to break out of the formation. Even if they could break the formation, they wouldn't be able to escape the pursuit of Di Shirtian and the rest. Don't worry, let me think about it. Ningyu waved his hand and sat down on the ground with his legs crossed. His consciousness sank into his storage ring. The current situation had already exceeded Ning Yu's expectations. If he relied on the plan he had formulated beforehand, not only would he not be able to escape, he would also cause Guoliang and Master Zhao to fall into the trap. The only thing he could do now was to communicate with the sapling and see if it had any ideas, or rather, to contact the mysterious expert within the Tower of the Supremacy of Yu. However, ever since Ning Yu discovered that he was trapped in the formation, he had been trying to contact the mysterious expert in the Tower of Yuzuan. The result was regrettable. No matter what Ning Yu did, he couldn't contact the mysterious expert in the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. Not only that, with Ning Yu's perception, he couldn't even enter the 10th level of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. Seal the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. The mysterious expert had sealed the space above the 10th level of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. For Ningyu, this bad news was really like a rain that poured on a roof. That was why Ningyu had placed all his hopes on the sapling. Ignoring Hu Wentian's question, Ningyu blocked off all external interference and began to converse with the sapling. There was no need for Ningyu to explain the current situation to the sapling. Break the formation and leave, or find Di Shirtian and the other experts in the Saint-grade crystal mine and kill them all in one fell swoop. Of course, killing Di Shirtian and the other experts was extremely difficult as ascending to the heavens. The sapling wouldn't consider this method for the time being. After pondering for a moment, the sapling said, "Using a small-scale world, I might be able to forcefully open a small hole and send you out." "How high is the success rate?" Ningyu asked. "Less than 10%. The sapling replied. "So low." Ningyu's heart thumped. With such a low success rate, it was almost impossible to accomplish. "If you can divert Di Shirtian's attention, I can raise the success rate to 20%. The sapling said unhappily. Under Di Shirtian's gaze, a success rate of less than 10% is already very good. All right, luring Di Shirtian away is a difficult task. Ningyu drew in a deep breath, a helpless expression on his face. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was about to say something, the entire region started to shake. Also, the frequency of the shaking increased faster and faster. Crash. Even the surrounding stone walls started to collapse. All sorts of huge rocks fell from the sky, landing in the four regions. Luckily, Ningyu and the rest cultivation wasn't restricted. Otherwise, the rocks that fell from the sky would be enough to smash them into meat paste. Not good. There's a problem with the crystal coffin. The sudden change caused the faces of Di Shirtian and the rest who were hiding in another room to change drastically. Crack. The crystals on the walls of the room suddenly shattered. The shattering of the crystal meant that Di Shirtian and the rest had no way of knowing what happened to Ningyu and the rest. Di Shirtian, go and stabilize the formation. Don't let the prey escape. I'll bring them to the crystal coffin to see what problem the old ancestor has encountered. Di Feng immediately ordered Di Shirtian to take care of the array while he brought the two late heavenly sovereigns to the crystal coffin. Buzz. Di Feng's figure flickered, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The two late-stage heavenly sovereigns also followed behind Di Feng and disappeared, fusing into the void. Why would the crystal coffin riot at this time? Seeing Di Feng disappear, Di Shirtian couldn't help feeling annoyed. Originally, everything was going according to plan. They were just waiting for Ningyu's half-step Saint Master to come over so that they could activate the formation and transfer the refined energy to the old ancestor who was guarding the crystal coffin. Then, the old ancestor would refine the entire crystal coffin. Who would have thought that there would be a change at such a crucial moment? Di Shirtian knew better than anyone that the crystal coffin riot was definitely because the demon spirit realm expert imprisoned in the crystal coffin had awakened. One should know that the demon spirit realm expert imprisoned in the crystal coffin was a genuine saint realm expert. Although he had been suppressed in the crystal coffin for so many years, a saint was still a saint. Once he broke out of the coffin, the consequences would be unimaginable. At the very least, the old half-step saint from the Emperor God Palace couldn't suppress him. Let's stabilize the formation first. If there's no other way, I'll activate the formation in advance and refine them all. Di Shirtian's silhouette flickered, flying towards the direction of the formation as he thought to himself. At this time, he had to be decisive without the slightest bit of hesitation. Otherwise, the Emperor God Palace would be annihilated. Chapter 1636. Shatter. Rumble. Di Shirtian's speed was extremely fast. It didn't take long for him to appear in the formation. However, at this moment, the formation was already in ruins. The four barriers that he had set up had also disappeared. The four regions had once again merged into one. Most importantly, the formation was on the verge of collapse, and there were areas where it seemed to be cracking. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the formation was completely destroyed. No, I have to activate the formation. Di Shirtian decisively decided to activate the formation and refine the 100-armed devil and the rest. Both of his hands formed seals, Di Shirtian shouted. Limitless heaven and earth, open for me. Following the sound of Di Shirtian's voice, a violent, devouring force appeared within the formation. The devouring power first appeared beside the pinnacle sky, supreme demonic beast. In just a single exchange, a third of the demonic beast's energy was devoured. The formation is in chaos now. Everyone, join hands to deal with Di Shirtian. We have to kill him before he activates the formation. The other two pinnacle sky supreme demonic beasts shouted when they saw the energy in the shorter demonic beast's body rapidly decreasing. As they shouted, they charged towards Di Shirtian. Take the lead. The two pinnacle sky supreme demonic beasts decided to fight Di Shirtian with their lives. Because of the formation's chaos, coupled with the two pinnacle sky supreme demonic beast attacks, Di Shirtian couldn't activate the formation and the devouring power within a short period of time. And the formation was in chaos, causing a huge impact on Di Shirtian. At this moment, it was already extremely difficult for Di Shirtian to gain the absolute advantage like before. Right now, he could only bitterly hold on. So much so that if the formation was in chaos again, he might not be a match for the pinnacle sky supreme demonic beasts. What should we do? Hu Wentian asked with a grave expression when he saw Di Shirtian fighting the two demonic beasts. What else can we do? Of course, we have to help, Ningyu said solemnly. Ningyu was clear that this was the best time to leave. If he missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Only when the formation was in chaos would he be able to kill Di Shirtian and leave this damn place. Without the restriction of the formation, Ningyu believed that he wouldn't be in such a sorry state if he encountered experts from Emperor Divine Palace again. All right. Hu Wentian also trusted Ningyu unconditionally. He stomped on the ground and quickly rushed out to join the battle. Voila! After Hu Wentian made his move, the 10 initial phase heavenly sovereigns behind him also charged out. Originally, Di Shirtian was already on the verge of collapsing. Now that Hu Wentian and the rest had joined in, Di Shirtian had no way of dealing with them. Hu Wentian, if you dare to attack me again, I'll trigger the black gas in your body and you'll die a horrible death. Di Shirtian was very intelligent. Seeing that he could not hold on any longer, he used the black gas to threaten Hu Wentian. Di Shirtian, as long as you hand over the antidote, I will make Hu Wentian stop. Ningyu's brows twitched as he hurriedly shouted at Di Shirtian. At his peak, Hu Wentian was a pinnacle heavenly supreme. If he could convince Hu Wentian to join the Supreme Hall, the strength of the Supreme Hall would definitely rise by a level. Di Shirtian's threat allowed Ningyu to see an opportunity. As long as he could obtain the antidote, he could use it to convince Hu Wentian to join the Supreme Hall. He believed that for the sake of the antidote, Hu Wentian would definitely join the Supreme Hall unconditionally. You have to swear an oath to the heavens. Di Shirtian did not really trust Ningyu, as he coldly stated. No problem. Ningyu did not intend to lie to Di Shirtian from the start. Hence, he straightforwardly swore an oath to the heavens. For you. Hearing Ningyu swearing an oath to the heavens, Di Shirtian flicked his wrist and tossed a jade bottle over to Ningyu. Ha! Catching the jade bottle, Ningyu unleashed his perception. After a brief inspection, he turned to Hu Wentian and said, "There's no problem with the antidote. You can return it." Because when Hu Wentian swallowed the antidote for the first time, Ningyu had also probed it. Hence, when Di Shirtian took out the antidote again, Ningyu knew that there was no problem. Okay. Hu Wentian believed in Ningyu. When Ningyu told him to retreat, he immediately brought the 10 nine-tailed foxes and retreated. Damn it, what the hell are you guys doing? Seeing Hu Wentian retreating with the 10 nine-tailed foxes, one of the pinnacle heavenly sovereigns cursed. If we allow Di Shirtian to regain control of the array, we'll all die. Don't talk nonsense with me. If we don't make a move, there will naturally be others willing to. Ningyu naturally did not place the words of a pinnacle heavenly sovereign in his heart. While he was speaking, he casually glanced at the 100-armed devil and the white-haired old man. Ningyu's meaning was simple. The 100-armed devil and the white-haired old man were both very powerful. If they joined hands to deal with D. Shirtion, he would definitely not be able to escape. Consider yourself ruthless. The 100-armed devil ruthlessly glared at Ningyu. In the next instant, his silhouette flickered as he entered the battlefield. As for the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man, the two of them only hesitated for a second before they rushed out and joined the battle. Originally, D. Shirtion was already at a disadvantage. Now, there were 3 more experts joining the fray against D. Shirtion, causing him to be unable to retaliate and could only passively defend, unable to retaliate. Pucci. Merely 5 minutes passed. D. Shirtion was seized by the 100-armed devil and his fist landed on D. Shirtion's chest. A huge force transmitted from his chest, causing D. Shirtion to spurt out a mouthful of blood as his body was flung backwards. The direction D. Shirtion was flying in was coincidentally the direction of the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man. Without a doubt, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man had each landed a kick on D. Shirtion's back. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out from D. Shirtion's body. In the next instant, D. Shirtion let out a hysterical roar. This is so infuriating. I want to perish together with all of you. D. Shirtion, who was in a frenzied state, pounded his chest unceasingly with his fists, forcing out tens of drops of blood essence. Voila! In the next instant, D. Shirtion's blood essence was like a torrential downpour, permeating the entire area. Not good. D. Shirtion wants to destroy the formation. Quickly think of a way to leave. D. Shirtion's actions caused Ningyu's heart to pound. If they didn't leave now, when D. Shirtion destroyed the formation, they wouldn't be able to leave anymore. Hence, the instant D. Shirtion forced out his blood essence, Ningyu hurriedly unleashed his perception, wanting to find a gap in the formation. Not only was Ningyu searching for a gap, the 100-armed devil, the Wentian, the short demonic beast, etc., almost all the cultivators within the formation were searching for a gap. There's a gap here. Chapter 1637. Fleeing in all directions. Let's go. Ningyu and Xieze did not hesitate even a little when they heard the words of the bamboo hat lady. They immediately moved and charged over. Hu Wentian had been paying attention to Ningyu from the start. The moment Ningyu left, Hu Wentian brought the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes and chased after him. As for the 100-armed devil and the rest, because they had to deal with D. Shirtion, their speed was slower by half a beat. Please bring me along. When Ningyu arrived at the gap, the bamboo-hatted lady's voice was filled with a hint of pleading. Xieze, bring her along. Ningyu was very clear of his own strength. With his earth-sovereign cultivation, if he brought the bamboo-hatted lady along, he would definitely be finished. However, the bamboo-hatted lady was the one who discovered the gap. Ningyu could not leave her behind. Hence, Ningyu hurriedly left behind a few words before rushing out of the gap. As for Xieze, he grabbed the bamboo-hatted lady and followed closely behind Ningyu. And then, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes also left through the gap in an orderly manner. Ha ha ha, all of you must die. Seeing tens of drops of blood dripping onto the ground, D. Shirtion laughed uproariously. As D. Shirtion's laughter rang out, his body began to swell up. It's over, he wants to self-detonate. Seeing D. Shirtion's body expanding, the 100-armed devil and the rest's expressions drastically changed. Their hearts sank to the bottom. At this moment, they no longer had the desire to fight against D. Shirtion. The 100-armed devil, the white-haired old man, the short and fat old man, as well as the 3-peak stage heavenly supreme demonic beasts, all 6 of them gave up on D. Shirtion and rushed towards the gap in the formation. D. Shirtion was a late-stage heavenly supreme. One could only imagine the might of a late-stage heavenly supreme's self-detonation. No one wanted to stay in the formation and endure the might of D. Shirtion's self-detonation. However, the gap wasn't too big. Those who arrived first would definitely leave first. The 100-armed demon was the closest to the gap, so he entered the gap first and disappeared. Then the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man also came to the gap. However, before the two of them could leave, three pinnacle heavenly sovereigns blocked their path. The shorter demonic beast kicked the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man towards Deshurtion. The pupils of the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man shrank, and they couldn't help but shout. Since the white-haired elder and the short elder were focused on the gap, they neglected the three pinnacle sky supreme demonic beasts. Now that they were being kicked towards Deshurtion, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man could only do their best to stabilize themselves before rushing towards the opening once again. Bang! Bang! The two crisp sounds completely shattered the hope in the hearts of the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The white-haired old man and the short and stout old man stared at the gap in the formation as they cursed incessantly. However, it was too late to say anything now. Deshurtion's body had already expanded to its limit, and right in front of the two of them, he exploded. Rumble! With Deshurtion as the center, the terrifying shockwaves from the explosion spread out in all directions. Voila! The formation unleashed its last bit of energy. Although it was on the verge of collapse, it still managed to block the shockwaves from Deshurtion's explosion and firmly controlled the shockwaves within the formation. The formation controlled the shockwaves from spreading out, but the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man suffered. Even if the two of them used all their strength, it was still hard for them to block the shockwaves from Deshurtion's self-detonation. The shockwaves left as quickly as they came. In just 3 minutes, the shockwaves from Deshurtion's self-detonation vanished like smoke in thin air. Gotcha! And the formation in this region also collapsed the instant the shockwaves dissipated. As the shockwaves dissipated, the formation broke apart. Everything seemed to be in shambles. But in reality, it was a different situation. Io. From the ruins, a soft voice rang out. Following that, two figures slowly walked out from the ruins. The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man. In order to block the shockwaves from Deshurtion's self-detonation, the two of them did not hesitate to burn their blood essence and used all sorts of trump cards. In the end, their lives were saved, but their cultivation dropped to the early stage Sky Supreme. If I don't take revenge for this, I'm not human. The white-haired old man clenched his fists, and a cold voice came from his mouth. What do we do now? The short and fat old man was very calm. In other words, the short and fat old man understood their current situation very well. At their peak, they were mid-stage Sky Supreme. Combined with their trump cards, even in a Saint-grade primal crystal mine, they were considered a peak power. But now, both of their cultivations had dropped to the early Sky Supreme realm. In a Saint-grade primal crystal mine filled with experts, an early-stage Sky Supreme could only be considered cannon fodder. What else can we do? Of course, we had to find those three demonic beasts and finish them off. The white-haired old man said fiercely, wanting nothing more than to kill the three peak Sky Supreme demonic beasts. Chapter 1638. Chapter 1638. Chapter 1638. The crisis is coming. Let's go. Hurry up and return to Imperial Peak. Tell them there's a change in the situation. After pondering for a moment, the scarred martial artist and the short-haired martial artist moved in unison and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Although he didn't want to believe that Deshurtion had died in battle, the current situation indicated that Deshurtion had already died. Now wasn't the time to push the blame away. They had to hurry to Imperial Peak and tell him about the situation. Otherwise, D-Phone would definitely be waiting for Deshurtion to activate the formation and bring the energy over to support. Rumble. Not long after the scar martial artist and the short-haired martial artist disappeared, the entire Saint-grade origin crystal vein had gone completely berserk. All kinds of rocks fell, and the cave collapsed. Obviously, D-Phone and the others hadn't expected such a situation. In order to mine the Saint-grade primal crystal vein as soon as possible, There were a total of dozens of martial artists in the entire vein. Of course, the cultivation of these martial artists who mined the essence crystals were not very high. Furthermore, with the collapse of the vein, most of the cultivators with low cultivations died on the spot. The collapse of the cave not only caused trouble for the warriors mining the mineral vein, but also completely blocked the retreat of Ningyu and the others. What do we do now? Hu Wentian's complexion turned extremely unsightly as he looked at the blocked path before him. Ever since they left the array formation, Ningyu, Hu Wentian, Xie, and the bamboo-hatted lady rushed out of the mine without stopping. With the mine collapsing, Ningyu did not want to die in vain. However, they had not gone far when Ningyu's path of retreat was firmly blocked by a huge rock. After several attempts, Hu Wentian gave up on the idea of moving the stone away. The boulder before him was no ordinary boulder. Even though Hu Wentian had given it his all, he was still unable to break it, or rather, move it in the slightest. If I give you the antidote and let you recover to your peak state, can you move the stone? Ningyu took out a jade bottle from his robe and asked solemnly. It's hard to say. Hu Wentian shook his head and said, even if I consume the antidote and recover my cultivation to its peak, I still don't have absolute confidence in moving the stone. If you swallow the antidote, how long will it take for you to recover to your peak state? Ningyu did not immediately hand over the jade bottle to Hu Wentian. A few minutes, Hu Wentian replied honestly. I can give you the antidote and protect you so that you can return to your peak condition. Ningyu frowned slightly and said, but before I give you the antidote, I have a presumptuous request. Originally, Ningyu had wanted to use the antidote to threaten Hu Wentian into joining Supreme Hall. However, the current situation did not allow Ningyu to think too much about it. The collapse of the Saint Grade Essence crystal mine caused the danger to increase with every minute one stayed in the mine. Ningyu did not want to die here. That was why he had to pass the antidote to Hu Wentian so that he could recover to his peak state. He could not delay this at all. Speak. Hu Wentian was rather calm. After all, the moment he saw Ningyu, Hu Wentian knew that Ningyu was hiding something from him. Furthermore, the current situation was extremely dangerous. He had to agree to it even if he didn't want to. If we can successfully leave this place, I hope that you can bring all the nine-tailed foxes in the Foxman Valley to join Supreme Hall. Ningyu didn't hide anything from Hu Wentian. He revealed everything and said, I won't hide it from you. I'm the Palace Master of Supreme Palace. The Golden Arowana Fish King, Grandmaster Xingyun, and Xie beside me are all from Supreme Palace. Thump! Hu Wentian's heart skipped a beat. Ningyu was the Hall Master of Supreme Hall, with a cultivation of first-grade Earth Sovereign. On the other hand, the Golden Arowana Fish King and Master Xingyun were from Supreme Hall, with a cultivation of Advanced Earth Sovereign. Xie was the one that surprised Hu Wentian the most. Xie looked harmless on the surface, but since Ningyu had brought him along, it meant that he had something special about him. He was here to protect Ningyu. No problem. Hu Wentian nodded and said, I can bring the nine-tailed fox of the Foxman Valley to join Supreme Hall, but you can't interfere with our matters. Of course, after joining the Supreme Palace, you will be the Hall Master of the Nine-Tailed Fox Palace's branch. Unless it's an extremely important matter, I will definitely not interfere with what you want to do. Hearing Hu Wentian's agreement, Ningyu revealed a joyful expression. Hu Wentian was a pinnacle Sky Supreme. If he brought the nine-tailed fox of the Foxman Valley to join Supreme Hall, then Supreme Hall's strength would instantly multiply. Swish! Amidst his joy, Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the jade bottle to Hu Wentian. Crack! Hu Wentian exerted a bit of force in his palm, crushing the jade bottle and pouring the pill inside into his mouth. Then, Hu Wentian sat on the ground with his legs crossed and started refining the antidote. Sizzle! As Hu Wentian continued to refine the antidote, the black gas in his body was also decreasing by the second. Xie, be careful at all times. Swallow the elixir immediately if there's any movement. Although everything seemed calm, Ningyu knew that this was the depths of the mine and danger could come at any time. Only by preparing for a rainy day could he be prepared. After all, Sieze needed some time to unleash the strength of a pinnacle sky supreme. Under such circumstances, he had to be careful. Drip. Time was ticking away. The black gas in Hu Wentian's body decreased at a rapid pace. At this rate, Hu Wentian would only need a minute to recover to his peak and unleash the strength of a pinnacle sky supreme. Sieze, swallow the elixir. Right at this moment, Ningyu suddenly shouted. Ningyu's shout surprised Sieze. But out of trust in Ningyu, Sieze swallowed the elixir. Buzz. Sieze quickly used a skill to refine the elixir. Sieze's aura also soared. 30 seconds later, Sieze's aura had reached the pinnacle sky supreme. What do I do now? Sieze asked after swallowing the elixir, allowing him to unleash the strength of a pinnacle sky supreme for a short period of time. Use your primordial chi to seal the surroundings, Ningyu said solemnly. All right. Sieze released his vital chi, and with them, as the center, he began to seal off the surroundings. Crack, crack. But as soon as Sieze sealed one direction, cracking sounds came from the surroundings. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The cracking sound in his ears made Ningyu's expression change drastically. Everyone, seal the surroundings. Ningyu had no time to explain and also joined the camp that sealed off the surroundings. At first, Sieze was the only one working, but soon, Ningyu and the 10 nine-tailed foxes joined in. Chapter 1639. Stone Beetle. These insects had a pair of wings on their backs, and their mouths were as hard as stone. Stone beetles. That's right, the insects that appeared from the other side of the wall were stone beetles. Stone beetles were ranked at the top of the insect-type demonic beasts. Their mouths were extremely hard and could chew through stones, iron, and even yuan qi. It could be said that wherever the stone beetles passed, not even a blade of grass would be left alive. Damn it, it's the stone beetles. We're doomed this time. One of the nine-tailed foxes couldn't help but curse when they saw the stone beetles appear. Stone beetles were insect-type demonic beasts that lived in groups. As long as one appeared, there would be a group of them. Now that hundreds of stone beetles had appeared on the other side of the yuan qi wall, it was enough to prove that they were surrounded by an army of stone beetles. Cut the crap. 5 nine-tailed foxes are responsible for sealing off this area with yuan qi. 5 nine-tailed foxes are responsible for killing the stone beetles that charge in. Ningyu spoke loudly, and his tone revealed a slight, indisputable tone. Since ancient times, the greatest taboo in the face of danger was to panic. With their team composition, 1 peak sky supreme Sieze and 10 early-stage sky supreme nine-tailed foxes, it would be far from easy for the stone beetles to charge in. These stone beetles were only peak 9th grade human sovereigns. They weren't even Earth's sovereigns. As long as they could seal off this area, it would be difficult for the stone beetles to charge in. Rumble. Sure enough, under Ningyu's orders, the 10 nine-tailed foxes began to work in an orderly manner. 5 used yuan qi to seal off the area, while the other 5 killed the stone beetles that charged in. Everything was going smoothly. 30 seconds later, a terrifying aura emanated from Hu Wentian's body. At this moment, Hu Wentian had completely refined the antidote and expelled the black gas from his body. His strength had returned to peak sky supreme. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hu Wentian didn't show off after recovering his strength. Instead, he sealed off the area with Ningyu and the others. Although Hu Wentian could kill the surrounding stone beetles, he knew very well that there was no way he could kill all of them. Most importantly, if he started a massacre here, then all the stone beetles in the Yuan crystal mine would rush over here. Hu Wentian didn't want to be someone else's benefactor. If he had guessed correctly, the 100-armed devil, the 3 other pinnacle heavenly sovereigns, as well as the white-haired old man and short old man, must have encountered the siege of the stone beetles. Whoever lost their cool first would be done for. Voila! With the addition of Hu Wentian, the burden on Ningyu's shoulders was significantly reduced. 5 minutes later, under the joint defense of Ningyu and Hu Wentian, They were finally able to seal off the surroundings with a yuanqi wall. Outside the elemental energy wall, the stone beetles that covered the sky and the earth were scrambling to get in. Inside the yuanqi wall, Ningyu, Hu Wentian, and the others all wore relieved expressions. At the very least, the stone beetles wouldn't be able to get in for a while. I can last another 5 minutes. However, before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. Xiezhe's words were like a heavy hammer that struck Ningyu's chest, causing Ningyu's face to darken. A single pill could only allow Xiezhe to attack unscrupulously for 10 minutes. As long as the time passed, Xiezhe's aura would drop significantly. We have to leave this place in 5 minutes, Ningyu said solemnly. Forget 5 minutes. Even if we have 10 minutes, we won't be able to leave. Hu Wentian's words poured a bucket of cold water over Ningyu's head. Once the stone beetles set their minds on something, they would definitely stick to it until the end, unless they died or the enemy died. Kill a large number of stone beetles? Hu Wentian didn't have the guts to do so. Oh right, suddenly. Hu Wentian seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, as long as we can find the leader of the stone beetles and take control of it, we can leave without a hitch. Hearing Hu Wentian's naive words, Ningyu couldn't help rolling his eyes. Judging from the quantity and cultivation of the stone beetles in the surroundings, the leader of the stone beetles in the Saint-Grade Origin Crystal Vein was at least a high-rank Earth Sovereign. Trying to control a high-level Earth Supreme was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. I got it. Originally, Ningyu wanted to refute Hu Wentian's words. After all, he thought that Hu Wentian's idea was impractical and impossible. But then again, there was a way to lure the leader of the stone beetles over. The world tree. The stone beetles ate the heavens, the earth, and all living things. There was nothing that they didn't like to eat. Of all the things in the world, the one that the stone beetles liked to eat the most was definitely the world tree. The sapling had said that the crystal coffin contained the aura of the world tree, and the stone beetles had appeared here. Combining all of this together, Ningyu could basically conclude that the stone beetle's target was the branch of the world tree. Rather than waiting for the stone beetles to leave, it was better to lure the leader over and find a way to control it. As long as he could control the leader, Ningyu's forces would multiply. Of course, all of this was based on controlling the stone beetles. Sapling, please release a little bit of your aura and lure the leader over. Ningyu didn't hesitate and immediately contacted the sapling to ask for its help. Don't even think about it. I'm very weak right now. I need a rest, the sapling said in an annoyed tone. Rest my ass. Once I control the stone beetles, with their help, we'll be able to find the crystal coffin in no time and take out the branch of the world tree for you. Ningyu interrupted the sapling and said in a deep voice, Hurry up and force out a drop of essence. I owed you in my previous life. The sapling waved its branch and forced out a drop of golden liquid and threw it to Ningyu. Pa! Ningyu reached out with his right hand and firmly caught the golden liquid. He said to Xiezhe, Hurry up and open the energy wall. I need to find a way to lure the leader over. Crack! Xiezhe waved his hand and opened a small hole in the energy wall. Whoosh! Ningyu threw the golden liquid out of the hole. Crack, crack, crack. As soon as the golden liquid was thrown out, the surrounding stone beetles swarmed over and started fighting over it. It was obvious that these stone beetles were crazy about the golden liquid that the sapling forced out. Ningyu, what did you throw out? Are you sure you can lure the leader over? Hu Wentian showed a doubtful expression. If the leader senses our aura, it will definitely not come over. That's easy. You guys hide your aura and only reveal the aura of the Earth's Supreme Realm. Ningyu waved his hand and said, The rock beetle leader will definitely come. All you have to do is to catch it when it's unguarded. Chapter 1640. Decide, no problem, as long as I can catch the rock beetle leader, I'll do anything. With a thought, Hu Wentian's aura began to drop. In just a few seconds, Hu Wentian's aura had fallen from the pinnacle heavenly sovereign realm to the earth sovereign realm. Aside from Hu Wentian, The other 10 heavenly sovereigns also had their cultivations drop to the Earth's sovereign realm. Ningyu himself was a first great Earth Supreme, so there was no need for him to hide his aura. As for Xieze, he also slightly concealed his aura. Only after Hu Wentian and the others concealed their auras did Ningyu's gaze fall on the woman in the bamboo hat. On the surface, the woman's aura was very weak. She was only a low-level Earth Supreme. However, the woman in the bamboo hat gave Ningyu a vague feeling. It was as if the woman in the bamboo hat had some unknown secret. "What's your name? Where are you from?" Ningyu thought about it and decided to ask about the specific situation. After all, the woman in the bamboo hat was the first to discover the gap in the array formation, allowing them to leave that place of trouble as soon as possible. "My name is Zhao Lin. I'm from the Central Continent," the bamboo-hatted woman replied. "Central Continent?" Zhao Lin. For some unknown reason, Ningyu felt a sense of familiarity when he heard the bamboo-hatted lady's words. Suddenly, Ningyu remembered something. He pointed at Zhao Lin and said, "Is your grandfather the chief array master of the Central Mainland, Grandmaster Zhao?" A few days ago, Ningyu heard Master Zhao talk about his granddaughter. At that time, Ningyu had asked Grandmaster Zhao's granddaughter's name, and Grandmaster Zhao had clearly stated that his granddaughter's name was Zhao Lin. Could this Zhao Lin be that Zhao Lin? "How do you know my grandfather? Have you seen my grandfather before? Where is my grandfather now? Is he in danger?" Ningyu's words caused Zhao Lin's expression to change greatly, and she hurriedly asked. Ningyu's face darkened. He asked one question, but Zhao Lin, who was standing in front of him, asked several questions in a row. However, from Zhao Lin's nervous expression, Ningyu could basically conclude that this Zhao Lin was that Zhao Lin. "Your grandfather is doing very well. You should be here soon. During this time, you'd better stay by my side. I'll protect you." After knowing Zhao Lin's identity, Ningyu's expression became solemn. Zhao Lin's life must be saved. After all, if Ningyu wanted Master Zhao to join the Supreme Palace, he had to save Master Zhao's granddaughter. "I don't need you to protect me. I can protect myself." Zhao Lin's tone was indifferent as she said, "If what you said is true and you saved my grandpa, I can promise to help you with something." "You want to help me with something?" Ningyu was slightly startled. He couldn't help but ask, "What do you want to help me with?" "When you lure the stone beetle leader over, I can arrange a formation to trap it." Zhao Lin's words were extremely shocking, as she proudly said. Ningyu's eyes widened as he stared at Zhao Lin as if he had seen a ghost. Ningyu was very puzzled. Where did this young woman in her 20s get the courage to say such a thing? One must know that the stone beetle leader was a high-level Earth Supreme, possibly even a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme. To arrange a formation that could trap a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme, one's attainment in formations must be extremely high. "You don't believe me?" Ningyu's reaction fell into Zhao Lin's eyes. "Almost no one in the Central Mainland knows that my attainments in array formations are already comparable to my grandfather's." Zhao Lin didn't explain too much to Ningyu and just said such a sentence. Confidence and arrogance. Ningyu had witnessed Master Zhao's attainment in formations. As long as Master Zhao was given time, he could even arrange a formation that could trap a pinnacle Sky Supreme. Could Zhao Lin do that? Ningyu didn't believe it. But looking at Zhao Lin's confident face, Ningyu decided to give her a chance. After some thought, Ningyu said, "The stone beetle leader will arrive in 5 minutes at most. You only have 5 minutes to arrange the formation. It's a little difficult to set up an array that could trap a high-rank Earth sovereign in 5 minutes, but it's not impossible." Zhao Lin was confident, but she was still a little nervous when she heard that she only had 5 minutes. After all, she said she would repay his kindness. If she messed it up, wouldn't she be letting Ningyu down? "I need the help of 10 nine-tailed demon foxes." Zhao Lin took a deep breath and said, 5 nine-tailed demon foxes to help me, and 5 nine-tailed demon foxes to catch the stone beetles. I need about 50 stone beetles. "I don't need them." As soon as Zhao Lin finished speaking, before Ningyu could say anything, Hu Wentian cursed. "Killing 50 stone beetles will definitely attract the army of stone beetles from the entire Saint Grade crystal mine. At that time, the Yuan-Chi wall we set up won't last long. It was no wonder that Hu Wentian was worried. Hu Wentian's worries weren't without reason. Hu Wentian wasn't sure if he could catch the stone beetle leader. But as long as they killed 50 stone beetles, the entire stone beetle army would rush over. At that time, it would be like putting oneself in a dead end. Is there no other way? Ningyu looked at Zhao Lin and asked. There's no other way. We can only rely on the stone beetles to arrange a formation that can trap a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme within 5 minutes. Zhao Lin stared into Ningyu's eyes and said, All right, I'll believe you this time. Ningyu only pondered for 3 seconds before he made a big decision. Trust Zhao Lin. You can't trap the wolf without risking it. The more dangerous it was, the more he had to try. In any case, they were already trapped in the St. Grade Yuan crystal mine. If they couldn't successfully escape, then when the crystal coffin went berserk, only death would await them. Instead of doing nothing, it was better to gamble according to Zhao Lin's plan. Do you know the consequences? Hu Wentian was stunned. Hu Wentian, Senior Hu, trust me this time. Ningyu knew that he had to convince Hu Wentian. There's no other way. I'll tell you the truth. Xieze won't be able to display his peak Sky Supreme cultivation in 5 minutes. Can you catch the stone beetle leader by yourself? This. Hu Wentian's heart skipped a beat. He swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. The stone beetle leader wasn't that easy to catch. If he wanted to catch it, he would have to withstand the attack of the stone beetle army. Otherwise, he would be drowned in the stone beetle army. Originally, Hu Wentian and Xieze were supposed to capture the stone beetle leader alive, while the other resisted the stone beetle army's counterattack. But now, Xieze wouldn't be able to display the strength of a peak Sky Supreme in 5 minutes. It was true that Hu Wentian couldn't capture the stone beetle leader by himself. The 10 of you, listen to Zhao Lin's orders for the next 5 minutes. Anyone who disobeys will be killed. Chapter 1641. Chapter 1641. Chapter 1641 Scorn Yes. The 10 nine-tailed demon foxes answered in unison. Hu Wentian was the old ancestor of Foxman Valley, the absolute leader. The 10 nine-tailed demon foxes chose to obey Hu Wentian's orders unconditionally. You guys, come over here and guard this area. You guys go catch the stone beetles. You must catch 50 stone beetles in 3 minutes. Zhao Lin did not stand on ceremony with the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes. She immediately began to issue orders and began to arrange the array formation. Seeing that Zhao Lin was busy, Ningyu and Hu Wentian took a few steps back. Their gazes landed on the golden liquid outside the Yuan-Chi wall. If he wanted to escape successfully, he had to fulfill 2 conditions. First, the golden liquid attracted the rock beetle leader. Second, use Zhao Lin's formation to trap the stone beetle leader. Neither of these 2 conditions could be omitted. Therefore, Ningyu and the others were not only worried about whether Zhao Lin could arrange the array, but also whether the golden liquid could attract the leader stone beetle. 5 minutes might seem like a long time, but to Ningyu and the others, it was very short. Never before had Ningyu and Hu Wentian felt that time had passed so quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. 3 minutes later, the rock beetle leader still hadn't shown up. Zhao Lin, on the other hand, surprised Ningyu and the others. 3 minutes was not a long time, but Zhao Lin had already finished setting up the framework of the array formation. It's just that the framework of the array formation that Zhao Lin constructed was not satisfactory no matter how one looked at it. Are you sure such a small formation can trap the stone beetle leader? Hu Wentian exclaimed as he pointed at the fist-sized formation frame. It's not about the size of an array formation. A small array formation can be very useful. Hearing Hu Wentian's words, Zhao Lin did not even turn her head. She directly threw the 50 stone beetle fragments into the formation. Chi-chi. As soon as the stone beetle fragments entered the formation, they turned into powder and gathered in the deepest part of the formation. Rise. Then, Zhao Lin waved her hands repeatedly. In a split second, a cold light flew out from her sleeves and entered the array. Following Zhao Lin's low shout, the fist-sized formation frame suddenly flew into the air. Buzz! The framework of the formation did not stay in the air for too long before it gradually became illusory and disappeared. Where did he go? Hu Wentian asked doubtfully. The rock beetle leader is here. You have to hold it off for 2 minutes. Zhao Lin did not answer Hu Wentian's question. Instead, she pointed her right hand outside the Yuanqi wall and shouted. Whoosh! Zhao Lin's words immediately attracted the attention of Ning Yu and Hu Wentian. Rock beetle leader. With a single glance, Ning Yu and Hu Wentian revealed looks of surprise. The original plan was to lure the stone beetle leader over in 5 minutes, but now only 3 minutes had passed and the stone beetle leader had flown over. Obviously, the golden liquid provided by the sapling was a fatal temptation to the stone beetles. Xieze, join hands with Hu Wentian. You must stop the rock beetle leader's attack. Ning Yu didn't have time to think and hurriedly ordered Xieze to prepare for battle. At first, Xieze still had 5 minutes left, but 3 minutes had already passed, so Xieze only had 2 minutes left. Fortunately, Zhao Lin only needed 2 minutes. Otherwise, Hu Wentian alone might not be able to stop the stone beetle leader's attack. Whoosh! As soon as the stone beetle leader arrived, the stone beetles outside the Yuanqi wall scattered. A drop of golden liquid appeared in front of the stone beetle leader. Without much hesitation, the stone beetle leader flew out and swallowed the golden liquid in front of Ning Yu and Hu Wentian. After swallowing the golden liquid, the stone beetle leader immediately revealed a look of enjoyment. Using this opportunity, Ning Yu had a rough idea of the stone beetle leader's cultivation level. Peak 9th grade, Earth Supreme. On the surface, the stone beetle leader's cultivation level was that of a peak 9th grade Earth Supreme. Even if it swallowed the golden liquid, it definitely wouldn't be able to reach the Sky Supreme realm in a short period of time. Since the stone beetle leader did not attack, Ning Yu had Xieze and Hu Wentian stay where they were and quietly waited. Preserving their strength and waiting for Zhao Lin to finish setting up the array would save them a lot of trouble. Let me test out the stone beetle leader's strength first. Xieze's thoughts were different from Ning Yu's. He knew that he still had 2 minutes left before he swallowed the pill. Before the medicinal effect wore off, he wanted to contribute as much as he could to Ning Yu. Otherwise, Ning Yu would leave him here. Be careful. Ning Yu thought about it and felt that Xieze's words made sense. But Ning Yu knew that he couldn't alert the stone beetle leader. If the stone beetle leader escaped, he wouldn't be able to catch again. I know what I'm doing. Xieze nodded. Then his figure flashed and flew towards the direction of the stone beetle leader. Sapling, force out another drop of golden liquid. Glancing at the stone beetle leader, Ning Yu felt that he should let the sapling force out another drop of golden liquid. Only by relying on the golden liquid could he keep the stone beetle leader occupied and not let it leave. What the F***CK? The sapling was about to explode from anger. His goal was to take human form in the sacred Grade Essence crystal mine, but Ning Yu actually kept asking him for the golden liquid. Every time he forced out a drop of golden liquid, his body would weaken a little. If he lost too much golden liquid, even if he found the world tree trunk inside the crystal coffin, he wouldn't be able to transform. Last drop. Ning Yu knew that the sapling was angry, so he tried to ease his tone. As long as we can control the stone beetle leader, we will immediately become the strongest in the Saint Grade crystal mine. Okay, I'll trust you one more time. Without waiting for Ning Yu to finish, the sapling forced out another drop of golden liquid and threw it to Ning Yu. After catching the golden liquid, Ning Yu carefully put it into a jade bottle. He didn't want the stone beetle to see it right away. If the stone beetle leader didn't leave, Ning Yu naturally wouldn't take out the golden liquid. At the same time, Xieze had already arrived in front of the stone beetle leader. Of course, there was a Yuanqi wall between Xieze and the stone beetle leader. Go! Xieze flicked his wrist, and suddenly a ray of cold light flew out from his sleeve, heading towards the stone beetle leader. The cold light penetrated the Yuan-Chi wall and headed straight for the stone beetle leader. Facing the cold light that was getting closer and closer, the stone beetle leader didn't have the slightest intention of leaving. Instead, the corner of its eyes revealed a look of disdain. That's right, the stone beetle leader revealed a look of disdain. Damn it! Being looked down upon by the stone beetle leader, Sieze cursed under his breath and immediately shot out a few more cold lights. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. One after another, the cold lights flew towards the stone beetle leader. But the stone beetle leader was still indifferent, its eyes still showing a look of disdain. Chapter 1642. Done. Reality proved that the stone beetle leader was indeed very confident. Voila! Sieze's light beams were blocked by the stone beetles that came from all directions when they were still a few steps away from the stone beetle leader. Countless stone beetles rushed in front of the stone beetle leader without any fear of death. Crack! Crack! After all, Sieze could unleash the power of a peak sky supreme. He flung out several beams of cold light, instantly killing dozens of stone beetles. However, there were too many stone beetles. Dozens of them died, and hundreds more came to replace them. It seemed like there was no end to them. Time was ticking away. Sieze tried to rush out of the Yuan-Chi wall several times to fight the stone beetle leader, but Ningyu stopped him every time. Since the stone beetle leader dared to show contempt, it meant that it had a trump card. If he rushed out at this time, he would not have a good ending. Zhao Lin was about to finish setting up the array. As long as the array was set up and the golden liquid was used to lure the stone beetle leader into the array, all the problems would be solved. I'm so angry. Within the Yuan-Chi wall, Sieze flew into a rage, looking very angry. Outside the energy wall, the stone beetle leader continued to show contempt. The situation suddenly became a stalemate. Last minute, Ningyu glanced at Zhao Lin, calculating the time in his mind. Once the time was up, Ningyu would take out the golden liquid given to him by the sapling to lure the stone beetle leader. The last minute, for Ningyu and Sieze, seemed to pass very slowly. At the same time, the stone beetle army retreated from the other points of the Saint Grade crystal mine. What happened? In one of the encirclement points, the 100-armed demon's mouth was slightly open. The 100-armed demon was surrounded by the stone beetle army in a corner. Originally, she was ready to fight to the death with the stone beetles, but who would have thought that there would be a light at the end of the tunnel? The stone beetle army that surrounded her actually retreated in an instant. Hundreds and thousands of stone beetles dispersed in an instant. They came and went without a trace, giving people a shocking feeling. After pondering for a moment, the 100-armed devil's body moved and disappeared in an instant. The 100-handed devil did not forget her mission to come to the Saint Grade crystal mine. She couldn't leave before rescuing the devil spirit realm expert. It's all your fault. Why did you have to start a massacre? In another encirclement point, the white-haired old man and the short old man had their backs to each other. Both of them were staring at the stone beetle army in front of them. At this moment, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man had clearly begun to quarrel. Blame me? If it weren't for me, you would have been killed by the stone beetles. The short and stout old man's face was extremely gloomy as he said angrily, forget it, we have to rush out now, otherwise we will all die. The white-haired old man said he wanted to find an opportunity to rush out. I'll count to 3, then, from one direction, the short and stout old man said in a deep voice, voila. However, just when the short and fat old man and the others were about to leave, the stone beetle army that surrounded them suddenly retreated. The stone beetle army that covered the sky retreated in an orderly manner. In the blink of an eye, the stone beetle army disappeared from the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man's sight. Looking at each other, the white-haired old man and the short and fat old man could see the doubt and confusion in each other's eyes. As long as the stone beetle army surrounded them for a while longer, they would definitely have to use their trump cards. Swish! Swish! The white-haired old man and the short and fat old man were not indecisive people. After the stone beetle army retreated, they also began to retreat. However, the direction they retreated towards was the depths of the St. Grade crystal mine, not the exit. Both of them had the same goal as the 100-armed devil. They swore that they would not rest until they rescued the devil's spirit realm expert. At the last encirclement point, the pressure on the three-peak heavenly supreme realm demonic beasts was much smaller. As they charged forward, they killed almost all the stone beetles that appeared in front of them. However, their method of dealing with the stone beetles was obviously wrong. The more they killed, the more stone beetles there were. Even though they were peak heavenly supreme realm demonic beasts, if they continued to kill, their stamina would definitely run out. Let's find the stone beetle leader. Once we control the stone beetle leader, we can control the stone beetle army, the short demonic beast said. All right, let's find the stone beetle leader. The other two demonic beasts nodded their heads in agreement. Voila! What could they do? Before they could find the stone beetle leader, the surrounding stone beetle army dispersed. Countless stone beetles disappeared in the blink of an eye. What's going on? The sudden change caused the three demonic beasts to reveal a puzzled expression. Don't care so much. Let's find our 5 companions as soon as possible. The short demonic beast reacted the fastest. He instantly made a decision to find the 5-peak heavenly supreme realm demonic beasts that were controlled by Defoam and the rest. Even though they knew that their companions' physical bodies were destroyed and only their yuan spirits were left, they still wanted to save them. How could they allow others to sleep beside their bed? If their master hadn't been in seclusion for so many years, they would have killed their way here long ago. Now that their master had woken up, they naturally had to seek justice. Ning Yu and the rest didn't know what happened to the 3 encirclement points. When the effects of the medicine wore off, Xieze spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura instantly dropped to the bottom. Swoosh! The stone beetle leader seemed to have been waiting for this moment. Just as Xieze's aura dropped, it suddenly moved, turning into a shadow as it charged towards Xieze. Hu Wentian, stop it! Ning Yu said hurriedly when he saw the leader of the stone beetles charging out. He was afraid that Xieze would be killed. Done. Before Hu Wentian could make a move, Zhao Lin revealed a relieved expression. She flicked her wrist and threw the small array to Ning Yu. Then, she sent a soul message to Ning Yu. This array can trap the stone beetle leader for 3 hours. Pa! Ning Yu swung his right hand and firmly caught the array formation that Zhao Lin threw over. Get in. Ning Yu glanced at the stone beetle leader, then at Xieze and Hu Wentian. Then, he took out the golden liquid the sapling gave him and threw it into the small array. Then, Ning Yu threw the small array towards Xieze, blocking in front of him. Seeing Ning Yu throw out the small array, Hu Wentian understood and immediately retreated, choosing not to fight with the stone beetle leader for the time being. Hu Wentian's decision was obviously wise. Seeing Hu Wentian retreat, the stone beetle leader's attention was completely attracted by the small array. In other words, it was attracted by the golden liquid inside the small array. Its eyes were fixed on the golden liquid inside the small array. Blah, blah, blah. The stone beetle leader let out a strange cry and floated in the air, not moving forward. Chapter 1643. A Gamble. Crack, 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 crack. The stone beetle army, under the command of the stone beetle leader, began to crazily gnaw at the Yuanqi wall. Perhaps the stone beetle leader had boosted the morale of the stone beetle army, but this time, the speed at which they gnawed at the Yuanqi wall was significantly faster. In just a few seconds, the Yuanqi wall began to emit cracking sounds. If this continued, it would not be long before the Yuanqi wall collapsed. Damn it! This change was out of Ning Yu's expectation. Cursing, Ning Yu hurriedly sent a message to Zhao Lin. Can the small formation withstand the stone beetle army's gnawing? We could try. Zhao Lin pondered for a few seconds and then said. Ning Yu's face was full of black lines. How could he even try this? Crack, crack. But the current situation did not allow Ningyu to think too much. He had to try, even if he didn't want to. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu threw the small formation towards the direction of the stone beetle leader. Whoosh! As soon as the small formation flew out, it was surrounded by dozens of stone beetles. These stone beetles flapped their wings and moved the small formation in front of the stone beetle leader. Squeak! The stone beetle leader squeaked at a stone beetle next to it. Then, the stone beetle turned into a shadow and entered the small formation. All of this was in Ningyu's sight. When the stone beetle entered the small formation, Ningyu's heart was in his throat. If that stone beetle brought the golden liquid out, it meant that their plan to control the stone beetle leader would fail. Fortunately, some kind of strange force was stopping the stone beetles from getting close to the golden liquid. Swoosh! Since it could not approach the golden liquid, the stone beetle flew out of the small formation and squeaked a few times in front of the stone beetle leader. Hearing the stone beetles squeak, the stone beetle leader's expression became a little conflicted. Then, the stone beetle leader ordered a few more stone beetles to enter the small formation to bring out the golden liquid. The stone beetle leader was disappointed. Dozens of stone beetles failed to bring the golden liquid out of the formation. This infuriated the stone beetle leader. Kacha! Kacha! The stone beetle leader flapped its wings and smashed 2 stone beetles into pieces. The stone beetle leader finally lost its patience. It flapped its wings and carefully approached the formation. When it arrived in front of the formation, the stone beetle leader still did not rush in recklessly. It was still observing its surroundings. The stone beetle leader even shifted its gaze towards Ningyu's group. However, at this time, Ningyu and the others were all blocking the stone beetles in all directions, ensuring that the Yuan-Chi wall would not be broken. Seeing this, the stone beetle leader felt a little less worried. Gritting its teeth, the stone beetle leader rushed into the formation. Success! Seeing that the stone beetle leader had entered the formation, Zhao Lin and Ningyu's faces lit up with joy. Everyone come and help. We must control the formation. Zhao Lin shouted. She sat down cross-legged and took out a palm-sized disc from her bosom. The Yuan-Chi in her body rumbled. Zhao Lin injected all of it into the disc. What are you waiting for? If you want to control the stone beetle leader, do as I say. Zhao Lin shouted at Ningyu and Hu Wentian as she injected her Yuan-Chi into the disc. Whoosh! Hearing this, Ningyu and Hu Wentian did not dare to delay. They gave up on blocking the stone beetles and injected their Yuan-Chi into the disc. Xiao! As the Yuan-Chi in the disc increased, the size of the disc also increased. Every time the disc expanded, the small formation in the middle of the stone beetle army outside the Yuan-Chi wall would shrink. Seeing that their leader was trapped in the formation, the surrounding stone beetles became unusually violent. These stone beetles gave up on eating the Yuan-Chi wall and turned to the formation. Unfortunately, the formation was too small. Only a few stone beetles would come into contact with the formation. It would be harder for a few stone beetles to break through the formation. This is all I can do. If you want to control the stone beetle leader, you have to inject your blood essence into its body. 3 minutes later, the small formation outside the Yuan-Chi wall had shrunk a few times. The stone beetle leader inside the formation had also shrunk a few times. It was now only the size of a fingernail. Fortunately, the stone beetle leader's cultivation had reached the pinnacle of a grade 9 Earth Supreme, so it could change its size at will. Otherwise, it would have been reduced to dust. Let me do it. Hu Wentian glanced at Ningyu and took a deep breath. Only I can get close to the small formation. You guys wait here, I'll be right back. The next moment, Hu Wentian's figure flashed, and he charged towards the small formation. Rumble. As it turned out, Hu Wentian's thinking was a little too simple. He might be a peak sky supreme, but the number of stone beetles was just too great. Every time he killed a stone beetle, hundreds or even thousands more would charge at him, preventing him from getting close to the small formation. Protect me, let me go. Ningyu knew very well that at Hu Wentian's current speed, it would take him 3 days to get close to the stone beetle leader. Moreover, The sapling had said that he had a way to get close to the stone beetle leader. Ningyu immediately stopped Hu Wentian from moving forward. "You going?" Hearing that Ningyu wanted to go, Hu Wentian's mouth was slightly agape. In Hu Wentian's opinion, if even he couldn't get close to the stone beetle leader, what could Ningyu do? "Protect me." Ningyu's tone was firm, and he had already put his words into action. "Okay, be careful." Since Ningyu insisted on going, Hu Wentian had no choice but to follow Ningyu's instructions and make his move. Moreover, Hu Wentian also ordered 10 nine-tailed demon foxes to attack together to ensure Ningyu's safety. Hu Wentian didn't want Ningyu to die prematurely. After all, whether or not they could successfully escape this time depended on Ningyu. "Sapling, what do we do?" Before Ningyu could leave the vital energy wall, he was targeted by the stone beetle army. Ningyu had no choice but to contact the sapling. "Fight!" The sapling's entire body turned into a dark green branch. It suddenly rushed out from the storage ring and landed in Ningyu's hand. "This branch is where my life essence resides. Those stone beetles don't dare to get close to it." The sapling guided Ningyu to control the dark green branch to deal with the stone beetle army. "Ha!" Following the sapling's method, Ningyu injected a bit of vital energy and soul power into the branch, and then fiercely pulled it out. The branch made a crisp sound when it came into contact with the air. Crack! However, what was even more terrifying was that when the branches hit the stone beetle's body, the stone beetle was directly smashed into pieces. Chi-Chi. Chapter 1644. Chapter 1644. Chapter 1644. Demon Nucleus. Quick, move your branches and kill them. As soon as the liquid entered the dark green branch, the sapling immediately shouted, "This green liquid is useful to you?" Ningyu was slightly startled, and then asked while twitching the branches. "It's useful. Of course it's useful. As long as I could devour thousands of drops of the green liquid, I will be able to recover to the 6th grade Earth's sovereign realm." The sapling did not hide anything from Ningyu. "What you need to do is to kill as many stone beetles as you can before I control the stone beetle leader. Let me drink their green liquid." "I can't believe it." Ningyu cursed. If they had known that the sapling was so powerful, why would they have spent so much effort? Wouldn't it save a lot of trouble if he used the branches to attack the stone beetles when he was surrounded by the stone beetles? "Don't be angry. I don't know if I can deal with these stone beetles." Hearing the anger in Ningyu's tone, the sapling hurriedly explained, "If I had known this earlier, why would I have waited until now? I would have made a move right from the start. I'll remember it for now. I'll deal with you later." Ningyu glared at the dark green branch in his hand, then swung it back and forth, slowly approaching the stone beetle leader. "Don't go to the rock beetle leader first. Help me kill a few rock beetles first." Seeing Ningyu's actions, the sapling could not help but cry out. It wanted Ningyu to think for it first. It was a pity. Ningyu didn't care about the sapling at all. Instead, he charged straight at the stone beetle leader. 3 minutes later, Ningyu held the emerald green branch in his hand and arrived in front of the small formation. Fortunately, the emerald green branches of the sapling were very powerful. Otherwise, Ningyu would have become the stone beetle's food. Even so, Ningyu didn't dare to be negligent. No matter how strong the sapling was, it was only one. The reason why the stone beetles didn't rush forward was because the green branches of the sapling had left a shadow of fear in their hearts. If the stone beetles swarmed him, Ningyu would definitely die. So what Ningyu needed to do now was to control the rock beetle leader as soon as possible. As long as he could control the stone beetle leader, the surrounding stone beetles would collapse on their own. Whoosh! With a thought, Ningyu directly cut open his arm and forced out a drop of fresh blood. He then threw it towards a small array formation. Ningyu was no fool. Chu Yunsheng did not force the stone beetle leader's blood out of its body. He wanted to see how much power the stone beetle leader had left. Chi-Chi. As soon as the blood that Ningyu forced out came into contact with the small magic formation, it was blown away by a gust of wind that the stone beetle leader spat out. Although the stone beetle leader was trapped in a small formation, its mouth could still move, and it could spit out strong winds to attack its enemies. Let's see what else you can do this time. The corner of Ning Yu's mouth curled up. He forced out a drop of blood and rushed towards the stone beetle leader from another direction. If the blood approached the stone beetle leader from the front, it would be blown away by the wind it spat out. But if the blood approached from the back, the stone beetle leader could not do anything. Go! As Ning Yu waved the green branch in his hand, he sent out a portion of his soul power to approach the stone beetle leader. The blood was to control the stone beetle leader, while the soul power was to attract its attention. Inside the Yuan Qi wall, Xie and Hu Wentian's gazes fell on the miniature formation and on the body of the stone beetle leader inside. Success or failure? It all depended on this. Crack, crack. But in the next moment, something happened that made Ning Yu's expression change. Because of the stone beetle leader's continuous struggle, the small magic formation began to crack. In this situation, the small magic formation would completely break in a few minutes. When the stone beetles saw that the magic formation was about to break, they all went berserk. Even with the green branch of the sapling blocking them, they still rushed out to save the stone beetle leader. This situation was advantageous to the sapling. Every stone beetle that rushed over became food for the sapling. The sapling's cultivation was also rapidly increasing. If this situation continued, it wouldn't take long for the sapling to recover to a 6th grade Earth Supreme. Whoosh! One person rejoiced, but everyone else was worried. Xie and Zhao Lin were in the middle, while Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes formed a semicircle and slowly approached Ningyu. The 4 walls of Yuan Qi shattered at this moment. An overwhelming number of stone beetles swarmed over. Fortunately, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes had high cultivation. Otherwise, Xie and Zhao Lin would have been finished. Control. Ning Yu's current state gave him the feeling that he was not paying attention to the outside world and only focused on reading the books of the saints. All the soul force in his body surged out, and together with the first drop of blood essence, he injected them into the stone beetle leader's body. As soon as the soul force and blood essence entered the stone beetle leader's body, Ningyu controlled them to approach the stone beetle leader's head. He wanted to control the stone beetle leader's demon core. Ningyu thought about controlling the stone beetle leader's sea of consciousness and its heart. But these thoughts were all rejected by Ningyu. The stone beetle leader was a peak 9th grade Earth Supreme. It was not easy to control it. Controlling the sea of consciousness and the heart could give the stone beetle leader a chance. But controlling the demon core was different. First of all, the demon core was the easiest to control. He just had to force his soul force and blood essence into it and use a secret technique. Secondly, if the stone beetle leader dared to do anything, Ningyu could directly detonate its demon core and shatter it into pieces. Of course, controlling the demon core had its drawbacks. If the stone beetle leader gave up the demon core, it could break free from Ningyu's control. But this possibility could be ignored for now, because once the stone beetle leader gave up the demon core, it would be easier for Ningyu to control it. It hurts so much. As soon as Ningyu's soul force and blood essence entered the stone beetle leader's demon core, the stone beetle leader let out a hysterical roar. The stone beetle leader's ability to speak surprised Ningyu. But on second thought, Ningyu understood. The stone beetle leader was a peak 9th grade Earth Supreme. Demonic beasts of this level could basically speak the human language. If you dare to control me, I will cut you into pieces and eat you slowly. The stone beetle leader's mouth moved up and down as it viciously spoke to Ningyu. If you want to eat me, you'll have to have the chance first. Ningyu knew the severity of the situation, so he forced out a few more drops of blood essence. He wanted to completely control the stone beetle leader before Hu Wentian and the others could no longer hold on. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 drops of blood flew to the stone beetle leader's back and entered its body from the other side. Chapter 1645. Chapter 1645. Chapter 1645. Set out Walla. The stone beetle leader's screams clearly caused the surrounding stone beetles to become even more berserk. With Hu Wentian at the lead, the defending army felt an immense pressure at this moment. Control them. Ningyu's mind was more resolute than the others. He ignored the roars of the stone beetle leader and focused all of his attention on controlling it. Fortunately, he had the help of the green branches from the sapling. Otherwise, Ningyu wouldn't have been able to control the stone beetle leader by himself. Puff! As time passed, the stone beetle leader's condition became worse and worse. In the end, as the stone beetle leader spat out a mouthful of red liquid, it became extremely weak. Ningyu seized this golden opportunity and forced a few more drops of his blood into the stone beetle's core. Poochie! After doing all this, Ningyu spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He was now as weak as the stone beetle leader. Rumble! Just then, the stone beetle army broke through Hu Wentian and the rest's defensive line and rushed towards Ningyu. Be careful! Let's go! Ningyu run! Hu Wentian, Xieze, and the rest exclaimed at the same time when they saw the stone beetle army charging towards Ningyu. Hearing Hu Wentian and the others' cries, Ningyu weakly opened his eyes, opened his mouth, and shouted with all his strength, "Stone beetle leader, tell them to stop." After saying this, Ningyu's entire body became limp, and he slumped to the ground. Grr! Hearing Ningyu's order, the rock beetle leader flapped its wings unwillingly and let out a grumbling sound. Whoosh! As soon as the stone beetle leader finished speaking, the stone beetles that were swarming towards them suddenly stopped and floated in the air, not daring to move forward. The sudden change caused Hu Wentian and Xieze to reveal looks of surprise. They had no idea what was going on. I know, Ningyu is controlling the rock beetle leader. Hu Wentian and Xieze were not stupid. In just an instant, he had guessed a certain possibility. Xieze and Hu Wentian looked at Ningyu, then looked at the stone beetle leader floating in front of Ningyu. They exchanged a glance and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Although they had pinned their hopes on Ningyu, when Ningyu really took control of the rock beetle leader, they were still in disbelief. The stone beetle leader was a peak 9th grade Earth Sovereign, while Ningyu was only a 1st grade Earth Sovereign. Even though the stone beetle leader was under the control of the small formation, it was not easy to control it. At the very least, Hu Wentian and Xieze did not have absolute confidence in controlling the stone beetle leader. Defeating the stone beetle leader was not difficult, but controlling it was harder than ascending to the heavens. How could Hu Wentian and Xieze not be shocked that Ningyu could control the stone beetle leader? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and recuperate. Then we'll head to the deepest part of the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein. Ningyu raised his hand with difficulty and said, "Rest for half an hour. We'll leave in half an hour." When Hu Wentian and Xieze heard Ningyu's words, they did not dare to delay and sat down to recuperate. While Hu Wentian and Xieze were recuperating, Ningyu started to communicate with the stone beetle leader. Since he had controlled the stone beetle leader, he had to let it unleash its full potential. Otherwise, Ningyu would not mind letting the sapling temporarily control the stone beetle leader. He believed that the sapling would not reject the stone beetle leader, given how much it liked the stone beetle leader. Tell me, why is the stone beetle clan here? Ningyu went straight to the point and asked without beating around the bush. Because inside this St. Grade Yuan crystal vein, there's something that we, the stone beetle clan, want. The stone beetle leader answered honestly. It was now meat on the chopping block. The stone beetle leader did not want to make an enemy out of Ningyu. At the very least, it would not make an enemy out of Ningyu until it found a way to expel the blood essence from the beast's core. What is it? Ningyu asked again. The thing you used to deal with me. In your human language, it should be called the world tree. The stone beetle leader did not hide anything from Ningyu. Looks like you did not lie to me. Ningyu nodded and said, "How many stone beetles are there in the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein?" 100,000. The stone beetle leader answered without hesitation. Yes. Hearing this, Ningyu could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Originally, Ningyu thought that 10,000 stone beetles in the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein would be good enough. Who would have thought that there would be as many as 100,000? 100,000 stone beetles, even if all of them were the manifestation realm, could easily fight against a peak sky supreme martial artist. Later, I will take you to the depths of the St. Grade Yuan crystal vein. If I am satisfied with your performance, I will give you a small branch of the world tree. Ningyu said after a moment of thought. What? However, Ningyu's words made the sapling very unhappy. In the sapling's mind, any branch of the world tree was its personal property. Other people, no, other demonic beasts, should not even think about it. You'd better behave yourself. Ningyu glared at the sapling, then grabbed the emerald branch and threw it into his storage ring. Whether or not they could obtain the branch of the world tree depended on the stone beetles. With the stone beetles, Ningyu's group would be the most advantageous contender for the branch of the world tree. Without the stone beetles, they were just cannon fodder. Moreover, Ningyu had a feeling that the demonic spirit realm expert in the crystal coffin was not simple. Who knows, there might be a huge battle when they were fighting for the branch of the world tree. At this time, they had to rely on the stone beetle army. Wait and see. Being thrown into the storage ring, the sapling was not angry. It only muttered, "How can it be that easy to obtain the branch of the world tree? The stone beetle army is just cannon fodder at most." Half an hour passed quickly. After half an hour of rest, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes had already recovered to their peak state. As for Xieze and Zhaolin, they had also mostly recovered. "Let's go." With a wave of his hand, Ningyu's army marched forward. Among them, Ningyu ordered the stone beetle leader to lead 100 stone beetles to open the path, while the rest of the stone beetles surrounded them, responsible for their safety. Just like that, the stone beetles escorted Ningyu, Hu Wentian, and the others to the deepest part of the St. Grade crystal mine. After setting off, Ningyu finally understood the terror of the stone beetle army. It was unknown if the stone beetle army was very angry, but wherever they passed, it was not an exaggeration to say that not even a blade of grass was left behind. Whether it was the walls or the miners who were crushed to death, they were all devoured by the stone beetle army. Chapter 1646. Enemies on a narrow road along the way. Ningyu's group did not slow down at all. Instead, they sped up. At first, Ningyu only saw a few sacred grade origin crystals. Since there were not many sacred grade origin crystals, Ningyu did not question the stone beetle army's devouring of the sacred grade origin crystals and turned a blind eye to it. But as they ventured deeper, they found more and more sacred grade origin crystals. This time, Ningyu could no longer remain calm. If so many sacred grade origin crystals were wasted by the stone beetle army, it would be a heart-wrenching sight. Ningyu ordered the stone beetle leader to restrain its subordinates and hand over any sacred grade origin crystals they came across. As it turned out, Ningyu's order was very effective. In the following period of time, almost every second, a stone beetle would come over with a Saint grade origin crystal and hand it to Ningyu. And Ningyu did not refuse any of them, throwing all the sacred grade origin crystals into his storage ring. Only a dozen or so minutes later, Ningyu thought of something terrifying and his expression changed drastically. With a thought, Ningyu hurriedly probed the storage ring with his perception. F***CK. Ningyu couldn't help but swear when he saw it. His guess was right. The sapling's 2 branches swayed in the wind. Every time a sacred grade origin crystal came in, it would control the branches to devour the sacred grade origin crystal. "Stop right now," Ningyu yelled, his nose crooked in anger. In just a dozen or so minutes, over 1,000 sacred grade origin crystals had all been devoured by the sapling. Luckily, it was a sapling. If it was anyone else, they would have exploded and died. "Don't worry, I'm a world tree. Swallowing these sacred grade origin crystals is nothing to me." The sapling did not seem to have any remorse as it said, I swallowed these sacred-grade origin crystals not just for myself, but for the world tree trunk inside the crystal coffin. Bullshit. Ningyu glared at the sapling and said coldly, "From now on, you'd better stay in the storage ring. Without my permission, you thump." However, before Ningyu could finish his sentence, the sapling's body tilted and fell into the storage ring. The sapling's action made Ningyu speechless. Obviously, the sapling had swallowed too many saint-grade origin crystals, causing it to be unable to refine them in a short time, and could only use this method to refine them. Thinking of this, Ningyu could not help but shift his gaze to the other two sides. One was the Dark Emperor. He was currently in closed-door training. When he obtained the heaven-devouring scepter, the Dark Emperor went into closed-door training in order to refine the Great Tyrant. Ningyu clearly remembered that the Dark Emperor said that as long as he came out of seclusion, his cultivation would at least be in the Earth's sovereign realm. The other one was Furball. Ever since he threw Furball into the storage ring, Ningyu did not really care about it. It was not that Ningyu did not want to care about Furball, but Furball had been in closed-door training and had not woken up. While Furball was in closed-door training, Ningyu had also tried to wake him up. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Ningyu tried, he could not wake Furball up. Furball was the same as the Dark Emperor. They were both heaven-devouring hounds. However, the Dark Emperor was a purple gold heaven-devouring hound, the emperor of the heaven-devouring hound clan. Furball's status seemed to be even nobler than the Dark Emperor. In terms of bloodline, Furball was not inferior to the Dark Emperor at all. In fact, it was a grade higher. I wonder if this trip to the Saint Grade Origin Crystal Mine can wake up Furball and the Dark Emperor at the same time. Ningyu thought for a while, then took out a piece of Saint Grade Origin Crystal and threw it to the Dark Emperor and Furball. As for whether they could refine it or not, it would depend on their own luck. What the F***CK? As soon as he threw the Saint Grade Origin Crystal to the Dark Emperor and Furball, Ningyu immediately realized that he was wrong. Be it the Dark Emperor or Furball, a terrifying, devouring force burst out from their bodies. In the blink of an eye, the Saint Grade Origin Crystal was devoured by them. Gulp! The speed at which the Dark Emperor and Furball devoured the Saint Grade Origin Crystal was completely out of Ningyu's expectations. One must know that even heavenly sovereigns wouldn't be able to devour Saint Grade Origin Crystals so quickly. Ningyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva and slightly released his perception, probing the Dark Emperor and Furball. Damn it, it's really infuriating to compare humans to dogs. Even though Ningyu was prepared, he could not help but curse at this moment. That's because the cultivation of the Dark Emperor and Furball was simply unimaginable, which made Ningyu have the urge to curse. Before the Dark Emperor went into seclusion, his cultivation was only at the intermediate stage, human sovereign realm. But now, the Dark Emperor's aura had clearly reached the pinnacle of the 9th grade human sovereign realm, just a step away from the Earth's supreme realm. It seemed like what the Dark Emperor said before going into seclusion was indeed true. The Dark Emperor's cultivation wasn't too shocking to Ningyu. What shocked Ningyu the most was Furball. Ningyu clearly remembered that when Furball went into seclusion, his cultivation wasn't even at the sovereign realm, not even the manifestation realm. How long had it been? And Furball's aura was actually on par with the Dark Emperor. In other words, Furball's cultivation was also at the pinnacle of the 9th grade human sovereign realm. Furthermore, in Ningyu's perception, if the Dark Emperor and Furball were to clash head-on, the Dark Emperor would definitely lose. Heaven-devouring hounds are indeed monstrous fellows. Ningyu knew that the heaven-devouring hounds were terrifying, but he did not expect them to be this terrifying. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu slowly withdrew from the storage ring. Since the Dark Emperor and Furball were still in seclusion, Ningyu did not disturb them. After all, the main force this time was the stone beetles. Even if the Dark Emperor and Furball came out, they wouldn't be of much help. There's someone up ahead. As soon as Ningyu withdrew from the storage ring, he heard Hu Wentian scream. As a pinnacle sky supreme, Hu Wentian perception was terrifyingly powerful. As he advanced, he paid attention to the changes in his surroundings. Although the stone beetle army was advancing at an unstoppable speed, Hu Tian was no fool. He knew that they hadn't encountered any real danger yet. If they did, the stone beetle army's speed would definitely slow down. As expected, after advancing at full speed for half an hour, the stone beetle army finally slowed down. "What's going on?" Ningyu asked with a solemn expression. "If I'm not wrong, there are at least 4 experts in the secret room ahead. 2 initial Sky Supreme and 2 late Sky Supreme." Hu Tian replied, "We've seen 2 initial Sky Supreme cultivators before. They should be the white-haired elder and the short and fat elder from not long ago." "It's them?" Before Ningyu could say anything, Xieze asked in confusion, "Aren't they intermediate Sky Supreme? When did their cultivation drop to initial Sky Supreme?" "I'm not too sure about that." Chapter 1647. Chapter 1647. Giant Yuan Crystal. A giant Yuan Crystal? Hu Tian's astonished expression fell into Ningyu's eyes. Ningyu was a little curious. What kind of Yuan Crystal could make a pinnacle heavenly supreme like Hu Tian feel shocked? Could it be a Yuan Crystal that surpassed a Saint-grade Yuan Crystal? If I've guessed correctly, that Yuan Crystal should be a Saint-grade Yuan Crystal, but it's several times higher than an ordinary Saint-grade Yuan Crystal, reaching the limit of a Saint-grade Yuan Crystal. How could Hu Tian not know what Ningyu was thinking? He did not hide it and explained. "Then what are we waiting for? We should kill our way in and snatch that huge Yuan Crystal," Xieze immediately said. "It's not that easy." Ningyu shook his head. "If it's just a few of us, we might be able to hide from the 4 heavenly sovereigns in the chamber. But now that we're here with the army of stone beetles, we've clearly been exposed. The only thing we can do now is to surround them and not attack. We'll let the 4 heavenly sovereigns kill each other first." "Kill each other?" Xieze was puzzled. Ningyu smiled and didn't explain too much to Xieze. Instead, he turned around to look at Zhao Lin and said, "Can you help me set up a formation? A formation that can trap the entire chamber." "I'm sorry, but with my current strength, I can't set up an array that can trap heavenly sovereigns." Zhao Lin shook her head. Zhao Lin's reply was out of Ning Yu's expectations. In Ning Yu's original plan, Zhao Lin would set up an array to trap the 4 heavenly sovereigns in the chamber, then let the army of stone beetles enter the chamber and kill all 4 heavenly sovereigns in one fell swoop. But from the looks of it, he might have to change his plan. After a brief pondering, Ning Yu said, "Hu Tian, if you and 10 nine-tailed foxes enter the chamber, how confident are you in killing the 4 heavenly sovereigns?" Hearing Ning Yu's words, Hu Tian was slightly taken aback at first. Then he said, "If they don't have any trump cards, I can kill them all by myself. If they do, I don't have absolute confidence. How about this? I'll let the rock beetle leader lead the rock beetle army and go with you." Ningyu knew that Hu Tian was telling the truth. Therefore, after thinking about it, he decided to let the stone beetle army participate in the battle. Although the stone beetle army was left until the end to fight for the tree branch, for some reason, Ningyu still felt that the giant crystal inside the secret chamber was unusual, and he should fight for it. In any case, there were more than 100,000 stone beetles inside the Saint-grade crystal vein. Losing a few stone beetles with low cultivation wasn't a big deal. "Sure, but after this is done, I want half a piece of Saint-grade origin crystal." Hu Tian nodded his head. "No problem." Ningyu agreed to Hu Tian's request without any hesitation. Since Hu Tian had yet to join the Sovereign Palace, it was reasonable for him to have such a request. After all, there was a possibility of danger when dealing with the 4 heavenly sovereigns in the secret chamber. So it was reasonable for Hu Tian to ask for some revenge. "Rustle." In the next moment, the stone beetle leader led the swarm of stone beetles and rushed towards the secret chamber. In the beginning, the sturdy door of the secret chamber could still withstand the bite of the rock beetle army. But as time passed, the number of rock beetles increased, and the secret chamber's door finally couldn't withstand it anymore and shattered. Rumble. When the secret chamber's door shattered, a terrifying attack burst out towards the first batch of rock beetles. Crack! 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 The sudden attack instantly decapitated dozens of powerful rock beetles and killed them on the spot. Grr! The death of the vanguard caused the other rock beetles to be enraged. Especially the rock beetle leader. It even let out a roar that no one could understand. Rustle. Under the roar of their leader, the rock beetles went berserk and charged into the secret chamber. In the beginning, the rock beetle leader wasn't serious about attacking the secret chamber, but it was forced by Ningyu's pressure. But right now, it only had a single thought in its mind, and that was to flatten the secret chamber and devour the cultivators inside. Rustle. Rustle. Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes did not hesitate when they saw the stone beetle chieftain leading the stone beetles in. What should we do? Seeing Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed foxes charging into the secret chamber, Xieze paced back and forth with anxiety on his face. Nothing. Ningyu shrugged. Please calm down. With the rock beetles and Hu Wentian making a move, I believe that the 4 heavenly sovereigns inside will be crippled, if not dead. Although that's the case, I'm afraid that there might be an accident. Xieze voiced out his concern. Forget it, forget it. I'll have 100 rock beetles escort you out. Ningyu felt that there was no point in keeping Xieze by his side, so he immediately decided to send Xieze out of the Saint Grade crystal mine. Plop. As soon as Ningyu spoke, Xieze knelt down and said in fear, Master, I'm just worried. I'm not trying to boost the morale of others and diminish my own. Just who is this Ningyu? Seeing Xieze kneeling in front of Ningyu, Xiaolin's heart was in turmoil. The scene of Xieze displaying the strength of a peak heavenly supreme not long ago was still fresh in her mind. Now that Xieze was kneeling in front of Ningyu, how could Xiaolin not be shocked? Even the young masters of some large families couldn't make a peak heavenly supreme kneel like this, right? One had to know that a peak heavenly supreme was already a high-end fighting force in the immortal spirit realm. Unless it was a sage family, no one could make a peak heavenly supreme kneel to an earth supreme. At this thought, Xiaolin's expression changed as she looked at Ningyu. To Xiaolin, a sage family was an unreachable family. Although Xiaolin's family was a top force in the central mainland, their strongest expert was only a half-step sage. And the difference between a half-step sage and a sage could not be measured. As long as a sage was willing, they could kill a half-step sage with just 10% of their strength. It had been many years since a true sage had appeared in the immortal spirit realm. What are you thinking? I asked you to leave so that you could tell Guoliang and the others what happened in the Saint Grade crystal mine and make them act cautiously. Looking at Xieze kneeling in front of him, Ningyu rolled his eyes and said in a bad mood, Remember, other than Grandmaster Xingyun and Guoliang, you have to keep an eye on the others. Don't let them enter the Saint Grade crystal mine, or I'll hold you accountable. Who? Hearing Ningyu's words, Xieze heaved a sigh of relief. That was close. Actually, in that instant, Xieze was really afraid that Ningyu would take his life. After all, his life was still in Ningyu's hands. If Ningyu wanted him dead by midnight, he definitely wouldn't be able to live past midnight. Don't worry. I promise to complete the mission. Chapter 1648. Devoured. After Xieze left, Ningyu fulfilled his promise and allowed the 100 stone beetles to leave with him. Xieze was affected by the goo poison in his body and couldn't display his peak strength for the time being. Having 100 stone beetles to protect him would save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. Then, Ningyu's gaze moved from Xieze's back to the secret room. On the surface, Ningyu looked calm, but in reality, Ningyu was more worried than anyone else. There were a total of 4 Sky Supremes in the secret room. Ningyu was more familiar with 2 of them, the Devil Spirit Realm White-Haired Elder and the Short and Fat Elder. Although their cultivation levels had dropped to the early stage Sky Supremes, Ningyu didn't let his guard down at all. Back in the formation, the White-Haired Elder and the Short and Fat Elder hadn't left, and had endured the power of Di Shirtian's self-destruction. Martialists who could survive the self-destruction of a late-stage Sky Supreme were no ordinary martialists. As for the other two late-stage Sky Supreme martialists, Ningyu was naturally very familiar with them. They were the martialists who followed Di Shirtian back then, late-stage Sky Supreme martialist from God Emperor Palace. However, Ningyu was worried about something else. Back then, aside from the two late-stage Sky Supreme martialists who followed Di Shirtian, there was also a Peak Sky Supreme martialist. Ningyu was worried that the Peak Sky Supreme martialist would suddenly appear, so he was now very nervous and paying close attention to his surroundings. I have to increase my cultivation level as soon as possible. Right now, Ningyu was very dissatisfied with this feeling. Although he had established Supreme Hall and had a large group of powerful martialists and demonic beasts following him, external forces were still external forces. In the end, external forces were still external forces. If he really encountered a sneak attack that could kill him, he would have to rely on himself. Therefore, Ningyu secretly made up his mind that after leaving the Saint Grade Yuan crystal mine, he would first go to Giant Shield City to rest for a few days and increase his cultivation level as much as possible. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was deep in thought, the battle in the secret chamber had reached its climax. With every rumble, dozens of stone beetles were killed. Since the beginning, the number of dead stone beetles had reached several thousand. Looking at the mountain of stone beetles, Ningyu frowned. He wondered if he should wake up the sapling and let it eat these dead stone beetles. Kacha! 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 However, what happened next made Ningyu feel like King Hell. No one knew who gave the order, but the stone beetle army rushed out and bit their companions. Thousands of dead stone beetles were eaten by their companions in just a few minutes. Gulp! Ningyu couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva when he saw so many stone beetles being eaten so quickly. This situation reminded Ningyu of a phenomenon. Many ants could kill an elephant. As long as there were enough stone beetles, no matter how strong the enemy was, as long as they didn't exceed a certain threshold, they would be killed. Bang! Bang! Perhaps it was to confirm Ningyu's thoughts. Suddenly, two figures flew out of the secret chamber and slammed into the ground. Following closely behind these two figures was the stone beetle leader and its army of stone beetles. The two late-stage Sky Supremes let out hysterical screams in the face of the swarm of stone beetles. However, their screams didn't last long before they were drowned out by the stone beetle army. In just 5 minutes, the two late-stage Sky Supremes were devoured by the stone beetle army. Kacha! The stone beetles that devoured the late-stage Sky Supremes underwent a transformation after devouring the two late-stage Sky Supremes. The stone beetles that were originally low-stage Earth Supremes advanced to mid-stage Earth Supremes. The stone beetles that were mid-stage Earth Supremes advanced to late-stage Earth Supremes. There were even 4 stone beetles that underwent an obvious transformation, reaching peak 9th grade Earth Supremes in one go, comparable to the stone beetle leader. Originally, Ningyu was worried that the stone beetle leader's position would be affected. However, after seeing the transformation of the stone beetle leader, Ningyu's worries were completely dispelled. Although the stone beetle leader hadn't become a Sky Supreme, its cultivation was infinitely close to that of a half-step Sky Supreme. Moreover, the stone beetle leader's body had also undergone a transformation, more than doubling in size. Under the powerful deterrence of the leader, the 4 pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign Realm stone beetles all revealed trembling expressions with fear. Stone beetle leader, hurry up and help Senior Hu Wentian, Ningyu shouted in a deep voice. No need. As soon as Ningyu shouted, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed foxes flew out from the secret chamber. Among them, Hu Wentian was holding an early-stage Sky Supreme in his hand. Upon closer inspection, it was the white-haired elder. As for the 10 nine-tailed demon foxes, they were carrying a huge origin crystal. Where's the other short and fat elder? Ningyu wasn't excited by Hu Wentian's capture of the white-haired elder. Instead, his expression turned solemn. Hit the snake where it hurts. Don't hold back. If he only captured the white-haired elder and let the short and fat elder escape, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ha ha ha, you want to capture us? What a fool's dream. The white-haired old man threw his head back and let out a hearty laugh, saying darkly, I will definitely spread the news of you controlling the stone beetle army. At that time, you will become the common enemy of all the Saint-grade crystal mines. Slap yourself. Ningyu frowned slightly and said indifferently, slap, slap, slap. Hu Wentian started slapping the white-haired elder's cheeks with both hands. After a few hundred slaps, his palms became slightly numb. Only then did he stop. At this moment, the white-haired old man's cheeks had grown several times larger, becoming larger than a pig's head. Let me ask you a few questions. If you can answer them honestly, I can spare your life, Ningyu said indifferently. Spare my life? The white-haired elder's eyes were seeing stars, but he still mocked. You're about to die, and you still don't know it. The army of the Devil Spirit Realm is about to attack the Pill Creation Continent. When the time comes, you won't even know how you died. I advise you to get on your knees and kowtow to me a few times. That way, I can save your life. Otherwise, you'll be dead. Devour. Ningyu glanced at the stone beetle leader and said indifferently, Swish. The stone beetle leader understood and immediately flew out. It crawled on the white-haired elder's head and started devouring. Ah! The stone beetle leader's long mouth pierced into the white-haired elder's head and continuously devoured him. The pain that drilled into his head caused the white-haired old man to let out a hysterical scream. Buzz, buzz. The stone beetle leader's devouring speed was very fast. In just a few minutes, the white-haired elder had been devoured and turned into a piece of human skin. Chapter 1649. Chapter 1649. Chapter 1649. Immortal Crystals. Did this stone beetle leader mutate? After devouring the white-haired elder, Ningyu was shocked that the stone beetle leader hadn't even reached the quasi-heavenly sovereign realm. Generally speaking, a pinnacle 9th-grade Earth sovereign could ascend to the heavenly supreme realm by devouring a heavenly supreme realm cultivator. Ningyu was very surprised that the stone beetle leader's cultivation was still stagnant. Hu Wentian, you can take half of this huge yuan crystal and give me the other half. Ningyu knew that now was not the time to think too much. He needed to pack his things as soon as possible so that he could continue his journey to the crystal coffin. Because in that instant, Ningyu sensed something unusual. It was as if all the vital energy in the Saint-grade crystal mine was flying towards the crystal coffin, devouring power. Although he did not know what had happened to the crystal coffin, Ningyu was almost certain that something had happened there. Hu Wentian did not stand on ceremony with Ningyu. With a thought, his tail enlarged and lashed out at the huge crystal. Bang! What happened next made Hu Wentian's heart skip a beat. Even though he had used 50% of his strength, he was still unable to blast the giant crystal into two halves. I don't believe it. With so many people watching, if Hu Wentian couldn't even destroy a single crystal, where would he put his face? In the next moment, Hu Wentian leaped onto the giant crystal. Open! Hu Wentian raised his right hand, bringing with it a strong gust of wind as he ruthlessly slapped the huge crystal. As soon as his palm came into contact with the origin crystal, Hu Wentian's expression changed drastically as he hurriedly retreated. However, it was clearly too late for Hu Wentian to think of retreating now. A terrifying cold light shot out from the huge crystal, piercing through Hu Wentian's palm and coming out from the back of his palm. Ah! The piercing pain caused Hu Wentian to let out a hysterical scream. Poochie! Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Hu Wentian's face became extremely gloomy as water. Stop it! Ningyu didn't have the time to check on Hu Wentian's injuries as he hurriedly shouted at the rock beetle leader. The cold light shot out from the crystal and injured Hu Wentian. Ningyu didn't want the cold light to come back and attack him, so he ordered the stone beetle army to stop the cold light for him. The stone beetle leader understood and immediately ordered the 4 pinnacle 9th grade Earth sovereigns to each lead a pair of stone beetles to chase after the cold light. As for himself, he hovered in front of Ningyu and did not go forward to help. In his opinion, the 4 generals under him were enough to take down Cold Edge. Voila! As it turned out, the stone beetle leader was right. 3 minutes later, the stone beetles returned with a palm-sized crystal on the back of a pinnacle 9th grade Earth sovereign. Looking at the crystal on the back of the stone beetle, Ningyu widened his mouth in disbelief. The palm-sized crystal had already reached the pinnacle of Saint grade origin crystals, and it was only half a step away from the higher grade. If the huge crystal was the pinnacle of Saint grade origin crystals, then the palm-sized crystal was the pinnacle of the pinnacle. Above Saint grade origin crystals were the immortal grade origin crystals. Generally speaking, only sage-level experts would have real immortal grade origin crystals. After all, immortal grade origin crystals were extremely precious, and even hidden forces might not have them. Immortal aura. Ningyu retrieved the palm-sized crystal from the back of the stone beetle and observed it for a while before he exclaimed, "It's actually at the half-step immortal grade origin crystal. How shocking." "You said that it's a half-step immortal grade origin crystal?" Hearing Ningyu's words, Hu Wentian's eyes narrowed as he snatched the crystal. Good. After observing it for a few minutes, Hu Wentian uttered the word good 3 times in a row. Hu Wentian was a pinnacle Sky Supreme cultivator, and he basically used Saint grade origin crystals to cultivate. Although Saint grade origin crystals were of great help to Hu Wentian's cultivation, he could achieve twice the results with half the effort. However, with immortal grade origin crystals, the time it would take for Hu Wentian to advance to the half-step Saint realm would be greatly shortened. One must know that even some true sages use Saint grade origin crystals to cultivate. Being able to cultivate with half-step immortal grade origin crystals at the Sky Supreme realm was an enviable treatment. "Ningyu, I need this half-step immortal grade origin crystal." Hu Wentian suppressed the excitement in his heart and said in a deep voice, "Give me this half-step immortal grade origin crystal, and I'll give you the rest of the crystal." "Are you sure?" Ningyu looked at Hu Wentian with a faint smile. "I'm sure." Hu Wentian nodded solemnly and said, "All right." Ningyu did not waste his breath with Hu Wentian. His origin chi surged out from his body and wrapped around the huge crystal on the ground before carefully storing it in his storage ring. Hu Wentian thought that he had taken advantage of the situation, but little did he know that there was another immortal grade origin crystal inside the huge crystal. The immortal grade origin crystal inside the huge crystal was not a half-step immortal grade origin crystal, but a genuine immortal grade origin crystal. If Ningyu hadn't noticed the huge crystal tremble when the half-step immortal grade origin crystal flew out, he wouldn't have noticed it. It could be said that no one knew that there was another immortal grade origin crystal inside the huge crystal other than Ningyu. Not even Hu Wentian. Of course, if Hu Wentian knew, he definitely wouldn't have given the huge crystal to Ningyu. "Senior Hu, is your hand all right?" Ningyu looked at Hu Wentian and asked with concern after keeping the huge crystal. "It's nothing." Hu Wentian waved his undamaged hand with a faint smile. At Hu Wentian's level of cultivation, it wasn't too difficult to repair a pierced hand. At most, he would just have to expend a bit of his origin chi. "Let's continue. We must reach the crystal coffin as soon as possible." Since Hu Wentian was fine, Ningyu didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he dashed toward the depths of the Saint grade origin crystal vein. Whoosh! Ningyu set off with the entire army of stone beetles. Seeing that Ningyu and the army of stone beetles had set off, Hu Wentian and the others followed closely behind. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it would be. Without the protection of the army of stone beetles, Hu Wentian and the 10 nine-tailed foxes might not be able to reach the deepest part of the mine. The army of stone beetles had the advantage in numbers. Even if they encountered a powerful cultivator, they could defeat them with their swarm of insects. Even if they couldn't defeat the enemy, They could delay the enemy's attack and buy themselves some time to leave. Boom! Ning Yu and the others continued onward without stopping. About half an hour later, Ning Yu, Hu Wentian, and the others' expressions changed at the same time as they scattered in all directions. However, it was already too late for Ning Yu and Hu Wentian to retreat. A huge crack suddenly appeared on the ground, and a terrifying suction force came from it. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.